more thoroughly documented, because we got most of their conversations, we got most of their emails, and we've seen them behind the scenes saying,
lots of news going on here. I don't know if this company's going to make it. I really don't know, because nobody wants CNN. You see, when they're actually trying to sell off Warner Brothers Discovery, then they're stuck with this little dangling.
Thanks for joining in. Sorry about that.
Like, what do we do? Nobody wants it, understandably, because it is like a noose around any company's neck. The chances are it either gets folded into maybe a deal with CBS, Paramount, we're going to get into that, or it gets spun off altogether, kind of like MSNBC is, right? Comcast. They are spinning off MSNBC, and I would just say all of these guys are looking at the slow disintegration of their news network. So who are the top talents, if we can call them talent, that are going to be bye-bye? There's going to be quite a few of them there. We have lots of news on that. Plus, we can talk about the court that is ruling to allow for National Guard in Portland. This is making the Dems absolutely apoplectic. I mean, they cannot believe that the three justices there on the Ninth Circuit Appeals Court said, yep, you can go on and bring the National Guard into Portland. It may go to the Supreme Court, but so be it, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to the Supreme Court, and then guess what? He's going to be able to go into San Francisco. He's going to be able to continue going into Chicago, into D.C., anywhere he wants to go. New York City, Kathy Hochul won't like that. Letitia James won't like that. And, Lord knows, the new about-to-be mayor, Comrade Mamdani, won't like it. Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan. This is Trish Regan Show. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe, share, like. I'm watching your comments in real time. Great to have you all here. But we begin, ladies and gentlemen, on none other than CNN. CNN, which has had a rather challenging existence for the last, I don't know, you want to call it 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 20 years. It is now scratching the bottom of the barrel. And if you're Warner Brothers Discovery, you don't really know what to do with it.
Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining in.
Got this really expensive.
Had to switch phones right quick.
Not getting any more money from USAID, at least for now, and you can't make it profitable. It's extremely expensive to have with all of these bureaus all over the world. You've got high-priced talent that probably shouldn't be making what they're making. Anderson Cooper, I'm looking at you. And as a result, you're not able to sort of recoup your investment. The company overall, by the way, I should point out that the parent company, it's not like they're any walk in the park, because
thanks for joining in. Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe.
We almost had a Letitia story there. We almost did. We'll have to get to her later. But if you look at Warner Brothers Discovery, what you actually see there is a company that's riddled with something like $40 billion in debt. I believe they've been able to get some of that down in recent years. But and they're relying on things like their Harry Potter franchise. But they really don't have a lot of innovation within that company. And so that's costing it. That's costing the company a lot in the way of not being able to really come up with any innovation that makes people want to go and watch their product, or two, really be able to dominate that streaming space. So what's going on? Maybe there will be a suitor. They're claiming that they've got more suitors. This is the big article in Hollywood Reporter today. Warner Brothers Discovery is for sale after all. There had been some talk, maybe they weren't going to do this, because remember they said we're going to just spin off CNN. Kind of like MSNBC, they were going to separate things into like the streaming side of the business and then the cable side of the business. And obviously one side of the business was going to have the value. That would be the streaming. And then the other side of the business, well, they could let it, die slowly on the vine. But by separating the streaming side, they hoped that they would be able to capture more value for shareholders. Well, now all of a sudden, they're insisting that they've got more suitors than we originally thought. You see, one of the suitors that was talked about at great length, and is still being talked about, is none other than Skydance Paramount. Okay, so remember the deal, right? Skydance Paramount, this is Larry Ellison's kid, right? He came in and he bought Paramount, which owns CBS and CBS News. And so that was, it's not going over so well at CBS. They're like flipping out because Barry Weiss, who has a conservative background and is like actually willing to call balls and strikes, they're like, wait a second, she's running our newsroom now, so we wish her luck. That's not going to be a fun newsroom to run, I'm sure. But now they're looking at maybe acquiring CNN too, and I'm like, gosh, are you guys just gluttons for punishment? Like, why would you want to do that? Seriously, like, why? But I think they're actually, if they acquire the whole thing, the reason they're really going in there is because they want the streaming assets and they want to keep them away from, say, Netflix or other competitors. Man. So the headline with Warner Brothers Discovery, you see David Zaslav, he is the CEO, talented media executive. It's just that, you got to keep up with the times. You got to keep up with the times, and the times, they are changing, as Bob Dylan said. Okay? They're changing. Because, hey, we're over here on YouTube. It's pretty damn fun, may I just say, right? No scripts, no middle management, just you and me. I watch your comments in real time. Whole different ball game. So how does that affect the news industry? We know in terms of the entertainment industry has been really shaken up. I mean, when was the last time you saw a good movie anywhere? I can't actually name one. Like, I'm not seeing any good movies lately. And you know what? I'm not even going to the movies lately. So the entertainment divisions, they've all been suffering. They can't come up with anything. They have no creativity. I blame that all on DEI, by the way, because they were so obsessed with
Thanks
DEI.
for joining in. Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
The halls of these great entertainment giants. I'm thinking Disney, for
I
example.
was live earlier, but my phone died on me, so I had to switch
They
phones.
just had a formula of, let's put on someone who represents a minority and reinvent an already popular movie. Well, that doesn't fly. And so they really haven't had any big successes. And then you look at, okay, Warner Brothers Discovery, they get the Harry Potter thing, but how much can you keep relying on that? I'm looking at Peace of My Mind. I see your comments, Peace of My Mind. I always love seeing you here. Thank you for all your loyalty and everything you do. So yes, you guys better be good today. I do watch them. Sometimes it's a little distracting, so be careful. Anyway, Warner Brothers Discovery is for sale. And what are they going to do with CNN? How can they, because nobody wants it. Maybe. And the shares are up today, by the way. Everybody's like, whew, finally.
Good morning. Thanks for joining in.
Someone else is going to take on this liability. We can get out as shareholders.
Like and subscribe.
I think that they're going to have to figure out the cable component of this. Again, what is of value? It's the streaming assets. One other thing I should point out, they have said that they're going to move forward no matter what with their spinoff if in fact this thing doesn't happen. So they've allegedly got a few suitors in the room. One is, as I mentioned, Paramount Skydance. That would be David Ellison. They've also got allegedly, reportedly, Comcast. I'm like, Comcast, again, what are you thinking? You're trying to get rid of MSNBC. But I think Comcast would just be there for the streaming assets. They're not as interested in the cable properties, naturally. And then you have Netflix that's possibly interested. Netflix is trying to really make a run at things. And, you've got HBO, you've got Discovery. So, like, there may be some synergies there. But, and again, this is an article. This is quoting actually AP, which is saying the exact same thing I am, that the Skydance owned Paramount, again, remember that's CBS, okay, is looking to make a bid. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Paramount had approached Warner about a potential majority cash offer share in late September, and that Warner Brothers chief executive David Zaslav has rebuffed those first overtures. Of course, David's out of a job, by the way, if this deal happens. I mean, you should be happy because share prices should go up.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. Happy Wednesday.
Now he's like, okay, let's do an auction. I need a beauty pageant here. Okay, who else? Who? Step one, step up one, step all. They are looking for more suitors. The problem for this company, again, is that, and they were smart to try and do these two different things, just like Comcast is doing with MSNBC, getting rid of the Rachel Maddows of the world, letting them go way over there and be in a totally different entity, because you want to preserve what you can from the streaming side. The cable stuff is a dead business. That is the legacy media business that you're trying to get rid of. So again, not necessarily thrilled about this, but looking at all things. He has a duty, of course, to shareholders to look at all offers and get the most attractive offer. This is quoting Business Insider. They're saying the primary theory is that the very biggest companies, only the very biggest companies, are going to survive in the streaming error. And this is why a Paramount Skydance, again, Paramount being CBS, Skydance, WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery mashup would be a possible challenger to the likes of Netflix or Disney or Amazon. I am only going to say that, like Netflix hasn't been so hot lately, Disney has not been so hot lately. I think the real game in town, frankly, is YouTube. But, they all want their chance and shot at the table. So, basically, bottom line, you're looking at a tough environment for all of these companies, and they are all trying to compete, and they are all challenged. And then you're going to have, for example, the antitrust issues. What happens there? Like, for example, if Comcast says, hey, we want to go ahead and acquire this, then does it become like, well, wait a second, you have NBC. Do you really need all these other networks in addition to that? This is one thing that may give Paramount Skydance that upper hand, because the Ellisons have a relationship. Daddy Larry Ellison has been a longtime Donald Trump supporter, so maybe they can cut through some of that red tape. I don't know. I'd like to think that doesn't really matter, but it's one of the things that they're trying to sell to the investing public. As I mentioned, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones spinoffs, those are things that Warner Brothers Media and Discovery have really been trying to push, and they've restructured their business to try and deal with some of this heavy debt. But then you've got, look at the bottom of this paragraph. I think this is the Hollywood Reporter that wrote this. Though the company has made some progress in debt reduction, investors have remained skeptical in part, because of the company's cable network portfolio as consumers move towards streaming. You guessed it. That's why you're here. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that kind of stuff. Hey, it's catching up with everyone. It's even catching up with Joe and Miko over at MSNBC.
Some of the other stories making headlines this morning. Comcast, which owns our parent company, NBC Universal, plans to spin off its cable TV networks. That's according to the Wall Street Journal and people familiar with the situation. The company will separate off entertainment and news channels, including MSNBC, CNBC, USA, Oxygen, E, Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel.
So it's spinning off.
The new cable venture will reportedly have an ownership structure that mirrors Comcast's. Comcast spokesperson declined to comment.
So Willie, as you look at the screen right there, the big concern that stockholders right now on Wall Street are wondering about before they decide what to do with Comcast shares is whether Mika is going to have to give up her penthouse perch atop the Comcast building.
Since I never had it.
When are we going to get invited to the penthouse?
Never. They never let us up. I will say really quickly on this, Drudge at the top said, like news meltdown, all this other stuff. I mean, I could be completely wrong. We could all be fired a year from now. When this happens, you never know what's going to happen.
Or tomorrow.
But in this case, though, what they're doing is what other media firms are doing. You spin off the cable channels, which 7 years ago were making a ton of money. Now figure out how to make them profitable. Disney,
Good luck.
By the way, huge media news. Disney has figured out now how to make streaming profitable. Peacock had an extraordinary success in the Olympics. So they're talking about spinning this off. Comcast still
Because you guys aren't profitable.
I think Brian Roberts still owns a third of that. And because Comcast didn't jump into the bidding war like everybody else, throw money at streaming services and then watch it flop, Comcast has a
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing.
So now they spin this off, and they're in a position to what do you
get rid of
say? To get a lot.
It's about CNN, fire sale.
To get rid of you.
Consolidate, but also to just ramp up. And so you
I guess these mainstream media is gonna
together. And so
get canceled out. CNN get rid of them.
A lot
Good.
of cable channels and to be in a much better position to scale. To scale.
You keep telling yourself
I took
that.
one business class at the University of Alabama.
Yeah,
I'm glad you gave us your analysis.
The only thing that makes sense here is you spin it off, and then you scale it up, and then you figure out how to make it more profitable.
Yeah, this is to keep the these networks like this network healthy and to keep Comcast thriving the way it is. And this is just the way it's going. People are cutting the cord, right? The cable subscribers are down across the board. This is something Bob Iger talked about last year doing with ABC and Disney and spinning off some of those.
Okay, so they're all trying to like console themselves
as well. But
as they deal with the reality, right? That their network, their medium, the cable TV legacy media business is going away. It is dying a slow death, or in this case, it's actually dying a rather fast death. I think we could say that Versant spinoff is coming within the next several weeks because it's supposed to be coming towards year end. And hey, we're at the end of October right now, so that's in the works right now. And I don't think they're going to get a big cash infusion. I don't think it's actually going to be very meaningful at all. I think what they're trying to do at NBC and at Comcast is preserve the part of the business that has the future, and that's the Peacock streaming network. They're trying to make sure that the news network, NBC, doesn't get in a whole bunch of trouble with FCC violations because of their headaches over at MSNBC. Don't forget, MSNBC, you can say whatever you want on there. That's cable. But it becomes a problem when the cable is infecting the network. And that's what you've seen a lot of, right? So they want to get away from that. They got rid of Joy Reid. They got rid of that. Was it Mehdi Hassan or something? He's been saying some really crazy things lately. You see that CNN got rid of Don Lemon and Jim Acosta, people that were really considered very toxic. And so they're trying to kind of brace themselves for this new future. But I just, the idea that Comcast would be interested in purchasing Warner Brothers Discovery, I don't see it happening unless they just get one section of the business. But the only way they get one section of the business is if they wait for this spinoff to happen, right? And the spinoff is supposed to happen sometime later this year. And so from a tax perspective and from sort of a streamlining perspective, you don't want CNN. You don't want anything to do with it. So you would just want to try and go after those assets like the Harry Potter stuff and all of that might represent some kind of revenue stream for you there to compete against the likes of Netflix with Peacock. So that's what's of interest. Meanwhile, if you're CNN talent right now, you are freaking out. What did I tell you all along? That poor Jake Tapper, you know, the guy with the like frog voice, like super nasal. I don't mean to be mean, but it's my operatic background. I can't help it. When people's voices sound like nails on a chalkboard, it kind of gets to me.
How you doing, Flatline? Thanks for joining in. Appreciate it. Happy Wednesday.
His voice is the guy, in case you can't jog your memory, who tried to take down Lara Trump, saying, how dare you suggest that Joe Biden be anything other than perfect, right? Because he's like the second coming of Jesus Christ, if you listen to Jake Tapper. Well, that was until Jake realized that maybe they were getting rid of his network after Donald Trump won, or after he really realized that there was
I go live once a week,
Suddenly he was out there
weekend one time.
Let's watch him try and take
I
down
work Friday
Lara.
through
Just
Saturday,
remember,
Friday,
this
Saturday,
guy,
and Sunday.
this
So after
day
Friday,
is
Saturday, and
certainly
Sunday, after
a
6,
place where
I
everyone's
go
hard to get a
live.
job at Fox.
During the week, I go live
Every
twice.
time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like,
Well, twice a
Joe,
day, I
can
should
you
say.
get it out. Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
how do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable
You are
to
no,
watch somebody on stage
I think
search for
it's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me that
and try and figure out an answer.
a cognitive
When
decline.
you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you
stuttering,
were
I
mocking
had
his
no
stutter.
idea, Joe
Yeah,
Biden.
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody.
Wow, Jake, really? And you wrote a book about it.
To people who do not have
The hypocrisy of these people.
diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar.
What a
and
jerk.
I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing
I'm
to
not
say.
diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
just
is
talked
that
about a
we
cognitive
can clearly
decline.
see that Joe
I
Biden
have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You
many
can't-
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the
Thanks for
leader
joining in.
of the
Happy
free
Wednesdays,
world.
everybody. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you,
We feel
Laura.
sorry for Joe Biden at
I
times.
appreciate it. I'm sure.
Okay, oldest trick in the book. I've told you about that one, right? You're like, bye, see ya, I got the last word, thank you. And he calls her Laura instead of Lara. So that's a deliberate kind of, you know? I can't even bother to learn your name.
That's crazy.
And now he comes out with a big new book. doing the rounds on conservative media, saying how nasty and mean those liberals are. My gosh. I mean, heck, we saw him the other day trying to take down Hakeem Jeffries, saying, hey, but you guys, you put all this stuff into the bill that would allow for 1.5 million trillion, forgive me, trillion dollars to go to illegal migrants. That's Jake Tapper calling out.
Thanks for the
Hakeem
like. Thanks for
Jeffries.
subscribing.
Hakeem
Thank you,
Jeffries,
guys.
what happened? Aren't I on CNN? Anyway, they're all going to go bye-bye. I mean, you saw him with Lara, and then, like, what, a couple months later, we got this version of Jake? It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
There is a pattern, discernible pattern of Democratic officials
With a very nasal voice.
seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
What I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Democratic officials have tried to spin this in many ways. They said President Biden just had a cold. They said it was just one off night, akin to when President Obama in 2000.
I love this. I mean, I just love this guy. There is, like, no ounce of integrity whatsoever. Here he is, up on his high horse, trying to, well, at this time he was taken down. By the way, hey, no King's protesters? Think about that. Think about that. They took your candidate right out from under you. How do you like that one? There's democracy for you. Courtesy of the Democrats. Anyway, this guy was part of the op.
12 was rusty and seemed a little huffy. But behind the scenes, make no mistake, most Democratic officials the same shocking spectacle that you did. The difficulty that the presumptive Democratic nominee...
Jake, we were telling you for months and months and, well, years. I mean, how many times did I play the video? And I didn't play selected video. I played the whole raw tape where you saw poor Joe not being able to sit down at one event in France in Normandy, or then he wanders off at the G8 summit, thank goodness for Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, who's so kind as to bring him back, and then he can barely put on his sunglasses. I mean, look, unfortunately, we've seen it before, some of us and loved ones, and you know what you're looking at. But Jake was trying to tell us we were the crazy ones. They're doing the same thing over on MSNBC, right? Until, like, this guy suddenly realizes his job's going to be on the line because there's no way that Biden can win this thing. He will be beaten by Trump. And that's when he just throws up his hands and goes for Kamala.
The current president of the United States had just articulating his basic thoughts during the 90 minutes of the debate. The spinning is all very reminiscent of the George Orwell quote from the book 1984.
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subs. Thank you.
A different situation and a different president. It's relevant again today. Quote, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. We're not going to do that today on The Lead. We're going to talk honestly and frankly about all of this with a number of individuals who see it for what it is. We're going to talk with some journalists and some Democrats, none of whom wish President Biden ill, all of whom apparently are more willing to speak freely, honestly, and candidly about the candidate than the people running the Biden campaign, the people close to President Biden, and, frankly, most Democratic officials across the country.
Oh, aren't you a stand-up guy suddenly coming out saying, I'm going to call it like it is, and not only am I going to call it like it is, I'm going to actually write a book on it and see how I can profit and maybe get a job on Fox, because we know what's over from my network. I mean, look, I've been telling you guys that forever. I actually think that CNN is enormously challenged in so many ways, and I don't see an exit path there for the network, nor for the talent. I mean, Anderson Cooper costs reported, I mean, I've seen estimates between $10 and $15 million a year, which I would say would be, frankly, if it's 10, $8 million too much. I'd pay him 2 and say, good luck, buddy. All right? That's like it, because they're not getting any ratings. it's not making any money, and you've got to actually make some hard decisions. I don't know how much this guy's making, and again, I'm taking sort of a stab. These are estimates that have been reported in the media. I think he makes less, and he's looking for a higher payday. He, I believe, came from print, which again, back to the voice, you can kind of tell. I don't think any of these people really have much of a future, because CNN does not have a future. And that's not just because of its bias and its sort of state media-esque aspect when you're dealing with the Democrat administration, but rather because the medium has changed so quickly, so fast. So who's nimble enough to keep up with that?
Thanks for the subs.
Fox,
Thanks for
to
the
a certain
likes.
extent,
Really
is in
appreciate
a better
it.
position in part because, well, it's a conservative network and a conservative one, and so I think that there's more faith and more trust. But like, don't kid yourself, even over there. I mean, you know who, right? It was in all kinds of trouble, and fortunately over here as a result, because I was willing that nobody was willing to say in March 2020, which was that we should not be shutting down the country. Thank you very much. You know, there's ways to do this, and there's ways to do this, and we don't need to pay attention to the plane crash type atmosphere that they were creating, and believe me, they were creating on CNN, because that was only going to be a bad political outcome for Donald Trump and a bad economic outcome for the United States of America. And look, I didn't know what I didn't know at that time. Looking back on it, though, I'd say I was right? But the point being that at a network, that's still not going to be tolerated. You know, you think they got your back. They even actually approve your commentaries over there. But when push came to shove, good luck. Okay, fine. I'm over here now. And guess what? I mean, not to brag too much, but do you know that I have about 5 times the monthly views as the entire Fox Business Network right here on the Trish Regan channel? So look, it's win-win for me, but what I'm pointing out is that all of these businesses, even the best of the bunch, which would be Fox in this case, they are all challenged. They are all struggling because the medium has changed. So Tapper, you can go get your little gig at Fox, but it's never going to, maybe you survive 5 years. I don't know what the timetable is, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see that all of these things, all of these businesses get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The shrinkage is happening because the viewers aren't there and the money isn't there. I mean, if you're an advertiser, wouldn't you rather be over here? Because they actually, sorry guys, they know a lot about you, right? If you're watching this show, they kind of know, well, you probably have a conservative view of the world. You're probably fiscally conservative. Maybe you have some interest in investing. You're interested in politics, etc. So they kind of know who you are. And I think there's just more for advertisers to pinpoint. And as a result, this is the future, okay? So I don't know what to tell you over at CNN. I think that all of you would be kind of smart to blow out of the joint as fast as you could. But you won't, right? Because it's nice to have 40 people around you. It's nice to have the hair and makeup team, okay? Like, I get it. But my advice to all of you is that it's actually much more nice to be your own boss and to know that you are accountable.
Right.
To the audience only. Not to middle managers, not to some CEO, not to shareholders, but to yourself and to your audience.
Preach,
and that's the
preach.
beauty of this business. But, MSNBC is going to be facing the same thing itself. You get CNN going bye. You got MSNBC dealing with the spinoff. And by the way, again, CNN either goes to one of these entities that effectively just squashes it or tries to shut it down or rolls it in, say, to CBS or something like that, or CNN gets spun off just like MSNBC is being spun off, and then they're going to face the same set of challenges. I mean, there's no way they can escape this, in part just because of the fundamental structures of the companies, the way that these deals are set up with cable companies. Meanwhile, wow, did you see what happened over the weekend? So the No Kings thing, oh, lordy. I mean, I was so sick of it.
Happy
By the way,
Wednesday. Thank you
I
guys for joining
apologize to
in.
all the boomers out
Appreciate
there
it.
because there was a certain type that was
Thank you
out
guys
there
for joining in.
in
Appreciate it.
full
Happy Wednesday.
force
Thank you.
over the weekend,
Thank
and
you.
it was just sort of embarrassing to see. I got one great video. This idiot, this guy was dressed up as a king himself, and he was just stumped on some of this logic. Let's take a look. Protester. Now we'll try that again. Protester gets stumped.
Voter ID is racist, yeah? Like, should you need an ID to vote?
No, I don't think so, no.
Is it racist that CVS asks you for an ID to buy Sudafed?
Well, I think that there are certain people that should not be allowed to buy Sudafed, so I think it's a good idea.
So it's more important that you use an ID to buy Sudafed, but not to vote for the person that runs this country.
I'm not exactly sure.
He's going to think about that one.
Damn.
They have no logic. Not really. I mean, so that whole thing that we saw throughout the weekend of all those No King protests, I think they were actually embarrassing themselves. All of these people trying to relive, the Vietnam War all over again. Well, CNN, forgive me, NBC, sometimes they seem interchangeable these days. MSNBC actually got really confused, and it started showing some archive from.
Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The last sort of anti-Trump rally in Boston. The only problem is, the crowds were nothing like that this time around. This stuff was from 2017.
Look at this. Millions of people across the country marching as we speak against the policies of President Trump. This is Boston. Look at that. We'll continue to follow these rallies throughout the day here on MSNBC.
No, it was Boston in 2017, buddy. We can't blame the anchor for that. That was actually probably just some production assistant getting all confused. But the point is, they don't know what they're doing over there. And they try and present it. If it weren't for the likes of Twitter, etc., you wouldn't even probably know. Somebody called that out. I think actually it was discovered on X where they're like, wait a second, I think that's video that we saw back in 2017. So this company, MSNBC, which is now going to be Ms. Now, MS Now? Ms. Now? I think Rachel doesn't even know how to say it. I mean, she's another one that costs way too much money. A reported $25 million. $25 million for Rachel Maddow, which is a show that's not getting any ratings either. So if you're actually in the ratings business and you need to actually get ad revenue based on ratings, why do you have your most expensive anchor working once a week, Monday nights only, one night only, standing remotely, Rachel Maddow, tune in at Monday night at, I don't even know what time she's on. I think it used to be 9 o'clock. I remember because she would come on as I would get off the air at 8 o'clock on Fox. I'd get off. I was on from 8 to 9, then somehow I'd see her, I think. Or maybe she was actually, I think that's what it was. Anyway, I don't even know when she's on. But I don't think anybody knows when she's on. And management is so dumb that they're allegedly paying
Thanks for
her
joining in. Like and
$25
subscribe.
million
Thank you guys. Happy Wednesday.
And so this is when accountability kicks in. Because you're now spinning off the company, meaning Daddy Comcast is not there to bankroll Ms. Maddow anymore. Ms. Maddow is going to have to stand on her own 2 feet. And if she's worth $25 million, then so be it, okay? But if she's not, then shareholders are going to come knocking and they're going to say enough is enough. We need a profitable company. So what are they going to do? It's like the radio business. They're just going to squeeze it and they're going to eke every little last dime they can get out of that company. They're not even going to care about ratings at some point. I used to work at CBS Evening News. I kind of used to wonder why we were even in business because, and I worked on the morning show too, which was just a joke, right? I've told you guys the story. I call people to be on the show with me, and I'm like, so I work on CBS, the morning show. It's like the Today Show.
Good morning. Thanks for the like. Thanks for subbing.
Thank
you.
But it's not. People didn't even know what it was. So CBS Evening News, I mean, you go back to the Cronkite era, they had quite a business, right? I mean, the cameramen were all flying first class. Like, it was a big deal. At some point, things just started getting really, really tough. But they kept it on the air, and they keep it in business. They don't care if they're rated number 3. They don't care if they're in last place, because all they have to do is squeeze the salaries of everybody there, squeeze the budget, and before you know it, they can turn a little bit of a profit. That's what's happening at MSNBC. That's what's going to happen when it spins off. And so who's vulnerable in that situation? For sure, it's Rachel Maddow. I believe she's probably, I don't know what Joe and Mika are making. They're a little bit more, dare I say, street smart, perhaps, than Rachel. I think Rachel is earnest in what she's doing, but she's not necessarily perhaps as political. So she's going to run against some of the higher ups as they try to make changes. And you can see evidence of that already. When Mika and Joe announced, of course, that things were changing, they actually had something to say about it. They knew how to pronounce the name. I think they called it MS Now. But Rachel Maddow, on the other hand, she doesn't even know how the new network's name is supposed to be pronounced, meaning a lot of this was not even communicated to her. She's the same person who went on air, losing it. Her good friend Joy Reid getting kicked off. I mean, Joy Reid deserved to be kicked off. Joy Reid was incredibly divisive.
Joyless Reid.
Really not a very good person.
Joyless.
The divisive things that she said, including, don't go to Thanksgiving with your relatives if they voted for Trump. I mean, who does that? I mean, it's like so. I'm over it. Anyway, and by the way, I have my parents that are not Trump supporters. I mean, they were out there. Maybe that's why I keep going on about boomers with their signs over the weekend. I mean, I'm like, okay, guys, great. You know what? You get to like relive your 1960s Vietnam era. I adore my parents, by the way, but we have certain rules. We don't talk politics, and you can have family members that you disagree with. You just don't talk politics. And Joy Reid wants you to hate on your family members. She was like encouraging my family to not have Thanksgiving with me because of my politics. Do you understand that that's not the right tenor for the country right now? That is the wrong direction. So Rachel now is in a situation where she's out there defending all of these people that get fired. She seems to be on the wrong side with bosses. They're paying her $25 million. And I'm just saying, once the company gets spun off, the company that she doesn't even know how to say because apparently nobody's communicated it to her, Rachel Maddow is going to possibly be one of the sacrificial lambs in all this. And don't feel bad for her. She should have banked enough money by now. And maybe she'll do fine, right? She's got that little podcast. She can continue doing that. And she doesn't even have to go on air on Monday nights. Meanwhile, these two...
We could all be fired a year from now when this happens. You never know what's going to happen.
They may just make it. They really may. Have you noticed the pivot? The little pivot. I mean, he's like Jake Tapper. He does it a little better, I will say. I'm going to give him credit. He does it a little bit better than Jake Tapper, and he doesn't have the nasal voice, so he's got that going for him. But he's totally pivoted. I mean, he was going on. He showed up in a suit and tie the next day to work after the election was won by Donald Trump, the popular vote, and the Electoral College. And he showed up for the first time in a suit and tie, and he started talking about how it was Reagan-esque. I mean, he knows which way the wind blows, and he tailed it down to Mar-a-Lago. Drove Rosie O'Donnell absolutely, positively crazy. But again, if we talk about survivors in this landscape, I think that there may be some people that can kind of manage through this, but it's going to be a very different industry, a very changed industry. God works in mysterious ways, because at the time that all happened to me, it was shocking and devastating. And I remember just being hurt, because, again, they spent a lot of time, editing a lot of my commentaries. It used to drive me crazy. I was like, really? Can you just leave them alone? But to think that you work so hard on something, and you have a point of view, which you believe to be right, and you're told...
Thanks, B, for subscribing. Thanks, B.
They okay it, and then the next thing you know, you're
B. Legger, thank you.
So it was a difficult thing from that standpoint, but the beauty of it is it introduced me to this whole new world of streaming, which, I'll be honest, guys, I wish I had discovered years before. I never understood it. And when I started...
Triday, Saturday, and Sunday after 6 p.m. I go live.
I hope you're here. Let me look.
Monday through Thursday, I go live twice.
In the chat, and she's like, Trish, your mic's not
when it's
working.
possible. Thanks you guys for joining in. Thank you.
By the way. But you guys were awesome. So many of you have been here from the very, very beginning. And I appreciate everything that you do to make this a success. And I love that I can do it this way. Because I love my job. And I love telling the truth. And I love having an opinion.
Right.
I mean,
the truth. The truth and common sense. Yes.
You've seen, it's gotten me in trouble. But I get to do that here. And that's pretty meaningful and pretty exciting. And I also am lucky to have sponsors like Balance of Nature who make this all possible, right? So I can bring you my news daily with no middle management or teleprompters in the way. Go check out Balance of Nature. One of the things I like about this company is when you look at the back of supplement bottles, if you're like me, you're like, wait, what is that? What is that? I'm not familiar with that ingredient. That doesn't make any sense. But when you look at the back of a Balance of Nature bottle, fruits and veggies, like, it's understandable. It's English because you're like, oh yeah, I know that ingredient. There's like 31 ingredients there, and I know which each one is. They freeze dry this stuff, and so they pack all the nutrients in there, and so it's really kind of it's a great product. And by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go and look online at balanceandnature.com and look at all of the people that have said wonderful things. My kid's music teacher came to me a couple years ago, said, I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I was talking to a lawyer friend the other day too, who said, I love that stuff. So lots of people, not just me. I encourage you to go to balanceandnature.com. Take a look. You actually can get a free Fiber and Spice bottle right now with code word Trish, TRIS8, 35% off, free shipping, and a money-back guarantee. So not a bad thing, right? Especially as we go into winter, right? You want to keep those vitamins. For me, it's like vitamin D. I need vitamin D, a lot of it. I need it year-round because I don't sit in the sun. But this is just a wonderful, wonderful product. So balanceofnature.com. We got a lot more news to get to today because the shutdown thing, it keeps going on. Meanwhile, you guys, I'm telling you, they are losing it over in the mainstream media. They are losing it in Democrat circles because of the story that's right above my left shoulder. Appeals Court lifts block on Trump's Oregon troop deployment. Deployment can now move forward in Oregon under preliminary ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Now, the Ninth Circuit was traditionally super lefty, like out there in San Francisco, what you would expect. But Donald Trump has managed to make a couple of appointments on that court. And so it's become more, grounded, sensible, less, pie in the sky, lefty nonsense. And so the Ninth Circuit just came through and they said, you know what? Portland, Donald Trump has the right to go in there with the National Guard because if a state can't protect its people, if it can't enforce the law, in this case, some of the immigration challenges and issues, then guess what? The federal government has the right to do that. So this is a big win for Trump, and it's almost like he knew this was coming. He knew this was coming because he's been picking on Illinois nonstop, as he should, because Pritzker is being a complete. Well, that's too easy.
Yeah, he's a shithead.
Pritzker's being
I live in Rockford.
jerk.
Pritzker is a piece of jerk. He's a jerk.
Brandon Johnson is like, I don't want your help. I don't want your help. We can do this just fine. Like, he helped out in D.C. He's got a solution for you. He wants to actually spend money on you. And you turn it away? Well, he's not taking that for an answer. He's taking it all the way to the Supreme Court, and San Francisco is next.
But the governor, who got thrown out of his business by his family because he's a dope,
that would be
the governor, Pritzker, he doesn't want us in. If I were him, if I were a Democrat and I were him, I'd say, come on in. What do you have to lose?
And you're going to go to San Francisco next.
We're going to go to San Francisco. The difference is I think they want us in San Francisco. San Francisco was truly one of the great cities of the world. And then 15 years ago, it went wrong. It went woke. Remember my statement? Anything woke is, and I used a filthy, well, broke is another word. I used a filthy word. I took enough heat on that. I won't say it again. But
what is that word?
Nothing changes, right?
Okay, I'm not gonna. I don't need you guys saying bad words in my commentary, but I have to think about that. I said go woke, go broke. I'm not sure what he means, but.
But we're going to go to San Francisco, and we're going to make it great. We're going to make it great. It'll be great. Again, San Francisco is a great city. It won't be great if it keeps going like this.
Aha. No, he's totally right. It won't be great if it keeps. I mean, if you go to Market Street, it's awful. I mean, I can't actually. I even debated showing you the video. YouTube gets a little funny about this sometimes. They don't really like some of this video. But just imagine sort of the zombie people, and you know why they're like that. And so this is like being traced back to Honduras drug gangs that are coming.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. Happy Wednesday.
Take out the drug boats. Like it all fits together. And Donald Trump, like, he cares about this very passionately, not just because it's political or it's good politics or good optics. Like, he really wants safe cities, and he really detests drugs, and he detests alcohol, right, because of what it did to his brother. So he's a teetotaler, and he really
I quit drinking myself. 7 months sober.
Things have done to
No
our
more
nation.
alcohol.
And he was one of the first to kind of
I wasn't a heavy drinker, but
front and center.
no more.
And now he's back for 2.0. and he's going to do everything he can to clean up everything he can. I love this. Did you guys see Dan Bongino? I want to show you. If you've seen it before, watch it again, because Dan is so good at walking you through the steps that they are taking as he describes how the president got them together. He's like, hey, Dan, hey, Cash, come on in. We need to fix this. Okay, guys, go do your thing. And they got together a supreme group of individuals that were able to analyze just exactly what the best routes to fighting crimes in these cities. And look, they're having success.
Thanks, Kimberly.
You can't
Appreciate
argue
it.
with success.
Thank you.
Here's Dan.
With regards to this crush and violent crime, whether it's in San Francisco, Chicago, any other major city, early on, this is kind of the untold story of this op. I get appointed, announced in February, come in March, Cash is there a little bit earlier. President brings us in early, and in essence, this is kind of the behind the scenes, guys. He says to us, you know, listen, I'm a builder. I'm in a lot of these big cities. He has just zero tolerance for violent crime. He just does. He drives around Washington, D.C. on the MTRs, off the record movements. He sees homelessness, crime. He can't stand it. He says,
like and subscribe.
Fix this. And we basically lay out a bunch of things. And his answer is very simple. President's like, go get him, boys. Go get him. That was it. Like, you do what you have to do. So we got in there, Cash and I, and we brought in the best SACs, special agents in charge across the country, guys who had forgotten more about crime and enforcing it than most people ever know. They've done this their whole lives. One of them we pulled in from Phoenix. He did an amazing job out there. We said, hey, his name's Joe. I said, Joe, you tell me what we need to do to go get these demon savages off the street. Tell me what we need to do.
Demon savages.
Demon.
Violent crime roundtable of the best crim agents in the country. We figured out a battle plan, how to kind of water balloon. You know, when you squeeze a water balloon, you get a bulge. How do we bulge agents here and then bulge agents there? And we cleaned up at the president's direction, the director and SACs and the agents in the field. We water ballooned around the country.
I loved it. Okay.
Demon savages off the street.
I love the water balloon around the country. I like his descriptions. I like him as a person, as a friend, and certainly as a podcaster. Certainly at the FBI, I miss his show, though, full disclosure, because of things like he talks about, you know, the water ballooning. But he's very serious about this, and you know, I still talk to him from time to time, and he's committed. I will tell you this. You know what, Dan? He's not making any money doing this, and he was making a lot of money on his show. He had one of the top podcasts in America, and he gave it all up because he's a patriot that cares about this country.
Crim agents in the country. We figured out a battle plan, how to kind of water balloon. You know, when you squeeze a water balloon, you get a bulge. How do we bulge agents here and then bulge agents there? And we cleaned up at the president's direction, the director and I, with the SACs and the agents in the field. We water ballooned around the country and made, get a load of this, guys.
Thanks for joining in, Louis.
28,000 violent crime arrests in 2025, and the year's not
Happy
even over.
Wednesday.
What does that mean? Put it in comparison. Prior 3-4 years, the FBI under prior leadership had averaged about 15,000, 16,000. We're at 28,000. 28,000. We're not even done with the year. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving or Christmas yet. Shows you when you get a president, an attorney general, a deputy attorney general, and an FBI leadership team that lets the FBI do FBI work instead of getting into other nonsense in the past. Look what happens. Your cities get cleaner.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. And just to add to that, let's be clear. What was the FBI doing before? A lot of work that it shouldn't have been involved in. I mean, including going after people who were parents showing up at school board meetings or going after Catholics that attended Mass in Latin. I mean, it was crazy stuff. But that all goes back to Operation Arctic Frost, right? In the meantime, let me see if I can show you what Molly Hemingway was saying on one of my former networks with my former colleague, Stuart Varney, great guy. She's making the point that, you know what, a lot has been accomplished, and to Dan's point about the 28,000 arrests, she's also pointing out the number of people that have been deported because they've been forced to be deported or they voluntarily deported themselves, but that it's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, as wonderful as this is, like, we need to be realists about it too. Let's go to her.
Now take a look at this. More than 515,000 illegal migrants have been deported since Trump's inauguration. 1.6 million have voluntarily self-deported. Another 485,000 have been arrested. Molly Hemingway with me this morning. This is exactly what Trump promised on the campaign trail. I simply didn't realize, Molly, that the numbers were so big, so fast. What say you?
Well, they are big, but it is also worth remembering that under the Biden administration, each year, 2 to 3 million people were coming here illegally. And so they're good numbers, but it's still only a dent in what has been done to the country because of having an open border during the Biden administration. But yes, it's a good start.
I mean, it's an important thing to remember. 2 to 3 million. Like, what the heck was going on? Well, we know what was going on. And I hate to be so crass and so political about it, but they saw it as an opportunity. I mean, when you look at New York State trying to make sure that illegals or people who were not in this country in legal status could vote in school board elections, you saw the same thing going on in Oakland, California. In the case of New York, they actually were going to allow for 800,000 people to be able to vote in some of these local elections. And what happened was it went all the way to the appellate court in New York and they struck it down. But you can see a pattern of behavior where they were like, okay, just get them in, give them this, that, and the other. Let them eat cake, as Marie Antoinette would say, or as Nancy Pelosi would say, let them eat ice cream. Remember that infamous scene when she was pulling up her freezer with like the Talenti or the Haagen-Dazs? I don't know. It's like $8 a container for the ice cream. Just hunker down at home. Eat your super expensive ice cream. There's this feeling that you could just keep bringing people here and that they would then be therefore grateful to the Democrat Party and that they would be able to have more votes. They also were looking at basically the redistricting efforts and the gerrymandering that they've engaged in before. And if you have that many more people in your district, even if they're not there legally, they were arguing that they could get more representation in Congress. So there was a method to the madness, and it was horribly political and really truly awful. And now, they're having to pay the price. They're having to pay the price because Americans don't want any of that. We're done with it. And now we're shutting down the government over it. Well, we're not. They are. Okay, so to be very, very clear, the Democrats chose to stomp their feet and block their ears and just throw a complete temper tantrum because they didn't want to offer up a clean CR. Instead, they wanted that $1.5 trillion going for health care. It would have gone to illegals. And Trump's like, no, not happening. Not my fault you guys brought 2 to 3 million people in here a year. That was your mistake, but we're not going to make that mistake by having to bankroll everybody going forward. We don't have the money. We're not going to do it. Period. End of story. And now they're livid because guess what the polls show? This is like the one guy I like at CNN, Harry Enton. Watch.
That's exactly right. Turns out shutdowns are different the second time around when it comes to Donald Trump. Take a look here. We speak about Donald Trump shutdowns, net approval rating. We're talking 20 days into it. In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually...
How you doing, Oregon? Good morning. Well, good afternoon, I should say. Good morning. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining in.
So the bottom line is this. The first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say...
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subs. Thank you.
I want to get out of this shutdown.
What about the question of blame?
Yeah, okay. What about the question of blame? Okay, you see here, Donald Trump's net approval rating was down 2018 to 2019. You talk about 2025 as net approval rating is up. It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown, a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
And he's doing things differently during this shutdown.
Yes, exactly right. We talk about Donald Trump, and you say, okay, he wants to be a consequential, influential president. Well, if the legislative process is basically freezed up, on Capitol Hill, you may say, well, then he can't actually get legislation through. But that's not how Trump is governing in this term. We've spoken about this over and over and over again. He's using his pen. He's using executive orders. Trump executive orders at this point of presidency. In 2017, it was just 50. Look at this, already 210 executive orders signed by Donald Trump during this presidency. That is the most in a year. You have to go all the way back.
Can I get some likes, people? Subscribers, thank you, thank you.
More executive orders in a year than Donald Trump has already signed this time around. And remember, John Berman, we still have 2 months to go in this year, so it wouldn't be surprising to me if he signs even.
Yeah, it seems to be saying, Congress, you don't want to do something?
Yeah, I'm going to do something for you. And so here's the reality. I mean, even CNN's, right, admitting the Democrats are taking the blame. They are taking the blame. There's really nothing to negotiate at this point because they're unwilling to open the government back up, which is pretty darn disturbing. And then I just want to show you how Senator Elizabeth Warren, I know we can barely watch her, but here she is out there trying to say that all of this is illegal. I mean, clearly the woman doesn't understand her ass from her elbow, so to speak. I mean, what is she saying? Like, you're supposed to keep this going? Like, the OMB has a responsibility to make decisions. They have to decide what stays open, what gets closed. And that means some people are going to get fired and lose their jobs, and they have to shutter certain departments. Well, sorry, Elizabeth Warren, you're the one who put us in this situation to begin with. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles, okay? Here she is with that's MSNBC, Elizabeth Warren together. Oh, this will be fun.
So let me just say 2 things. First, these firings are illegal. They were illegal before the shutdown, and they are illegal after the shutdown.
Wrong.
The shutdown gives Donald Trump no more power to lay people off en masse like this than he had before. He had no power to do this.
Pocahontas.
Is please observe the cruelty of what they're doing. You know, I was a special ed teacher long before I ever got into this job. And understanding what access to opportunities for those kids need and how those kids can't wait.
Is she going to start crying?
They need their help so they can be in a classroom. They need that wheelchair. They need that extra teacher's aid. They need the additional speech therapy. They need those extra opportunities so that they will also have a chance to succeed alongside the other kids in the classroom. And Donald Trump wants to take that away. And the Republicans are willing to just stand by and watch him do that. That is a form of cruelty that no leader of a nation anywhere should impose on the people that he supposedly represents.
You know, she's just so, I have to be careful. I have to be careful what I say. But I get why Trump always goes to the nickname because, you know, you just get so annoyed with people like that when they're trying to misrepresent everything. Look, Elizabeth Warren, you have an opportunity right now to open the government. You guys are choosing not to. Over $1.5 trillion that gets distributed to illegal migrants that Joe Biden brought in his administration to the tune of 2 or 3 million a year. Okay? $1.5 trillion that we don't have. Just look at California. California put $6.5 billion towards hospitals for the treatment of illegals. Like, we can't live in a society like this. We've got some serious economic fundamental problems. And look, the president is trying to do new things. He's actually doing all kinds of new things, really innovatively thinking about how we need to approach our economy from a different standpoint, whether it means taking a 10% stake in Intel.
I will, no problem.
Charge for the
I'll bring this to you guys every day. Well, it's like this, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I work a 12-hour shift. So I have to do this after 6 p.m. I get off at 6 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But Monday through Thursday, I'm off.
But again, he goes back to this is so impossible to deal with these people because they're just like a bunch of screaming kids struck with TDS.
They have a deal. We have a deal. We just want an extension. And the reason we want an extension
Like and
is
subscribe.
because you can't make a deal with these people. They're lunatics. They've gone crazy. They're crazed people. Trump derangement syndrome. There really is that disease. At first I found it to be amusing. Now I find it really is. They want $1.5 trillion for health care for illegal aliens that come into our country. If we do that, it will jeopardize the health care of the citizens of our country. So we're not going to do that.
No, he's going to do that. And that's what he said to Maria on Sunday. Let me take you live to just outside the ballroom. The ballroom that's getting built, by the way. We can talk about that. He's very excited about it. Anyway, despite all the things that you may have seen online, some people aren't so excited about it. But anyway, here he is talking about the importance of, getting the government back up and running. But these people have to be willing to negotiate.
people of our country. Unfortunately, in a craven and pointless act of partisan spite, Chuck Schumer, who I've known for a long time, and the radical left Democrats are holding the entire federal government hostage to appease the extremists in their party. And they are extreme. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. They're extreme, and you know what? We had a landslide election. We won.
Trying to get that YouTube money if it's possible. Some of the subscribers I got.
Remember, they said, "Oh, if Trump could get 3 swing
Humble.
states,
Appreciate you guys. Very humble.
I didn't get 3. I got 7. We got all 7
stay
by a
humble.
lot, by record numbers. We won the Electoral College, 312 votes. They said
How you doing,
it's
Miss
very
Lady?
hard for a Republican. No, it's harder for a Republican. Although now I think we've swapped it. I think it's now
All the
harder
presidents
for
had done something to the White
Democrat.
House besides
Because
Trump.
if you see what
How come
we've
Trump
done
fixed the
with
White House up? It's a
Hispanics,
problem,
with
but Biden,
black
Obama,
workers and black
they all
men,
done
and
something.
recently a poll came out.
How you doing,
with
Dave? Hello,
black
hello.
men and women were doing so
Thanks for
well.
joining
They
in.
want security. They don't want to have
Conversations.
Thanks
with
for the
him
likes. Thanks for the
about this.
subs.
He's different than a lot of politicians in that he really does value human life. I mean, that was evident even when you saw anything that we were doing vis-a-vis our troops. He values human life dearly. And the idea that Washington, D.C. can be a place of crime, or Chicago or anywhere else, that's got to end. And he's going to do everything in his power to try to make that end. So different than, what we've seen before. A lot of times, politicians are like, we can't manage it. We can't do anything about it. And they let it go. But Trump is Trump. And he's there in 2.0, and he's not willing to change things. I want to look at what he's also suggesting about some of the tariffs, because there's some money coming in before that. But before I do, I just want to give a shout out to our friends over at Conservatives for Lower Healthcare Costs, whom I partnered with on this campaign, because
Thank you, Miss Lady. Thank you so much.
healthcare costs, they do need to come down. The 1.5 trillion. I'll tell you, give
Monday through Thursday, I go live twice.
doesn't end up in good hands, right?
The weekend, after 6, I go live.
You give them money, and somehow you get more inflation. You look at healthcare, look at all the inflation in the healthcare sector. Look at education, college costs. That's because, there's all this government money thrown at it and government loans, and sure enough, now it totally outpaces any other kind of inflation. So that is kind of a given. But I just want to say, President Trump is doing a lot in terms of trying to bring down these healthcare costs. And part of that, by the way, is dealing with Big Pharma. He's taking on Big Pharma like you don't typically see politicians take on Big Pharma. But Big Pharma, they got their army of lobbyists. And if you look at what was going on even just before President Trump got into office, we saw drug prices spike. They don't want to give you generics. They don't want to give you access to this. They want to hike prices on hundreds of medicines. They've been doing that this year, and even early in this year, still doing some of this, while flooding us with all kinds of ads on network television. Boy, oh boy, what are they going to do if RFK Jr. is successful with getting them off network television? Well, also, what would MSNBC, what would NBC, CBS do? They're all going to be up a creek without a paddle. Anyway, they've been spending hundreds of billions of dollars on all of this marketing, or hundreds of millions. No, I think it's all kinds of money. I don't know if it's probably in the billions. I should actually look that up in terms of the actual dollar amount. But they're spending money marketing drugs nonstop to the point where you can't even watch the evening news if you wanted to with your children because of these ads. You know which ones I'm talking about. Worse yet, big mandates designed to stack the deck in their favor, and their goal in Washington is simple. You know what? They want to escape accountability. They want to block free market competition. They want to jack up all these already outrageous prices, which means the government intrusion that's coming into your life is really unnecessary, bad, and results in only bigger profit margins for them, of course. So Conservatives for Lower Health Care. We love business. As Conservatives, we love business, and we see nothing wrong with making money. But you know what? Enough is enough, people, okay? We are warning the Big Pharma agenda is about to stick Americans and employers with billions in higher premiums and drug costs, and President Trump is not backing down from any of this. His administration is cracking down on drug companies that gouge Americans and mislead patients with obnoxious, you know what I'm talking about, advertising. Meanwhile, Conservatives in Congress are introducing reforms to stop Big Pharma's games that block generics and keep prices high. So I want to put this up on the screen. PharmaWindfall.com is where you need to go if you want to get some more information. It is, again, Conservatives for Lower Healthcare. But you can visit them at PharmaWindfall.com. Just get some more information. Pester your congressperson about it, honestly, because it just can't keep going this way. It is not a good solution for any of us. As for the shutdown, Trump is being very, very, very clear. I want to go back to him talking about not just the shutdown, but also he's talking about the importance of what we're doing as a nation to try and find other means
Thank you.
of economic activity and success. And by the way, this goes out to one of our viewers who sent, thank you for the generosity. I'll put your name up on the screen, but saying, hey, Trish, with your economic background, would you talk some more about economics? I'm always happy to talk about economics. You know that, guys. By the way, 76research.com, go there, use code dollar. But here is the president speaking about a little bit on the ballroom, as well as what these tariffs are going to mean for our economy. Here we go.
Nations got together, we made a deal, and it was all based without the tariffs. You could have never made the deal. I'll tell you what, tariffs equal national security. Remember that. Tariffs equal national security. You got to remember that. And they also equal wealth for our nation, because we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars in a very friendly manner, given to us by nations that used to take it from us. And they used tariffs on us. We never used it on them because we were foolish. We were led by people that weren't business people, but it really does. It equals national security. And I wouldn't have put out, I mentioned 8 wars, 9 coming. Of the 8, 5 were based solely on trade and tariffs. India, Pakistan were going at it. 2 nuclear powers, and serious nuclear. 7 planes shot down. They were ready to go, and I called them up. I said, you go to war, and we're not doing a trade deal. And they said, well, what does one thing have to do with the other? I said, it has a lot. You're nuclear powers, and if you do it, we're not doing a trade deal. And 24 hours later, they called me, we have decided not to do it. We stopped the war. We stopped a potential disaster, a nuclear disaster, because of trade. And it's been really amazing. But the tariffs have made us a wealthy country. They've given us tremendous defense. They've given us things that we can do for other countries, very positive. But again, really, it's national security, it's national defense, and they are so important. And it's incredible that presidents, for the most part, didn't know how to use them, when to use them. If you go back, you'll see some of the presidents that were the most successful were believers in tariffs. And I even see foreign countries now that we are doing very well with taking ads. Don't go with tariffs. They're taking ads. I saw an ad last night from Canada. If I was Canada, I'd take that same ad also. But they're on television taking ads. But I do believe that everybody's too smart for that. We have a very, very big and important case coming up. We should win the case based on the legal merit. We should also win the case based on all of the things I just said. But we're a wealthy country again. Last week, as you know, they found $31 billion. They came to see me, sir. We found $31 billion. They said, we don't know why. I said, was this a good find or a bad find? It was a good find. It was a plus 31. We're used to finding negative 31s, right, for the last 30 years. I said, check the tariff shelf. Well, those tariffs haven't kicked in. Yes, they did. They kicked in 2 months ago. Check it. He comes back 2 hours later. Sir, you were right. We have an additional $31 billion, billion, not million, Lindsay, billion, that we just found from tariffs. They kicked in earlier than we thought. You were right. We're a wealthy nation again, and we're a nation that can be secure. We're a nation that can start paying down our debt. And with tariffs, we're the wealthiest nation ever in the history of the world. Without them, we've got to slog. We've got to slog. But remember this, other nations, including China, Japan, European nations, they used tariffs against us for many years. That's why we owe $37 trillion. That's why. But they used tariffs very successfully against us, and we had presidents that never fought it. But now you have a president that does fight it. So I just want to welcome you to...
Oh, that's great. So, a lot from him there in the Rose Garden today. It is wonderful that he's able to make these tariffs work. He's thinking about it in different ways. We actually wrote a piece on this. It came out this week in 76 Research. I encourage you to go over there, 76research.com. You can learn more at 76portfolios.com, because you see there, these are our key portfolios: American Resilience, Inflation Protection, Income Builder. These are 3 portfolios that we run 10 to 15 stocks in each one of these, and they've seen enormous success. We're pretty good. We're pretty good at what we do. What can I say? If you just want to tiptoe into it, I would encourage you to get the 76 report with code word dollar. do that today. But wow, I mean, lots of good things to celebrate. Through this, but I'd say that the plus side is, despite what Elizabeth Warren is saying, you know what? We are going to be able to slim down that government. Thank you, Russ Vought. Over there at OMB, he's been chomping at the bit to be able to do this for years, and the Democrats handed it to him on a silver platter. So a smaller government will likely be the result of this, but you know what? There's worse things that could happen, right? 7 agencies are being affected as we speak with those layoffs hitting. I'll tell you, look, you can't keep going down a path of spending with no accountability and no ability to pay back your bills in the future. So it's nice to see this sort of business approach. I do worry about future administrations for a variety of reasons, including, hey, basic stuff like our freedom of speech. But you know what? We'll save that for another day because I have more coming to you tomorrow in terms of what's going on with Cash and Dan's investigation, in terms of Arctic Frost, and in terms of the 30 million phone records that were, in my view, illegally obtained. We don't have any evidence yet that they got the proper warrants or had the proper sign-offs, because it appears that one Tim Tebow, who was running the investigation, was the guy who both initiated it and okayed it. That is not allowed under FBI code. So we will have more on that story breaking for you tomorrow. I love that you're here. Please make sure that you like, share, make a comment. I do read all the comments after the show, so go ahead if you don't catch this live. Oh, and don't forget to go check me out on Spotify. We're there too with the rerun of the show. I call it the West Coast Update. Thank you so much, guys. Good to have you here. See you tomorrow. If you're still in talent right now, you are freaking out. What did I tell you all along? The poor Jake Tapper, you know, the guy with the like frog voice, like super nasal. I don't mean to be mean, but it's.
I'm gonna play another one after this one.
I can't help it.
Another video of
when people's voices
Trish.
sound like nails on a chalkboard, it kind of gets to me. Hey, a little tism in there. I don't know, but his voice gets to me. This is the guy, in case you can't jog your memory, who tried to take down Lara Trump, saying, how dare you suggest that Joe Biden be anything other than perfect, right? Because he's like the second coming of Jesus Christ, if you listen to Jake Tapper. Well, that was until Jake realized that maybe they were getting rid of his network after Donald Trump won, or after he really realized that there was no chance that Joe Biden could ever win this thing. Suddenly he was out there stumping for Kamala. Let's watch him try and take down Lara. Just remember, this guy, his days are certainly numbered, which is why he's scrambling so hard to get a job at Fox.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You heard his friend's feelings.
It's so amazing to me that
and try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
When you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar. I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked about a cognitive decline.
that Joe Biden
I have
is
one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't.
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I
Thank
genuinely
you,
feel
Laura.
sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
Okay, oldest trick in the book. I've told you about that one, right? You're like, bye, see ya, I got the last word. Thank you. And he calls her Laura instead of Lara. So that's a deliberate kind of, you know? I can't even bother to learn your name. And now he comes out with a big new book, doing the rounds on conservative media, saying how nasty and mean those liberals
Snake
are. My
chat.
gosh. I mean, heck, we saw him the other day trying to take
tapper.
down Hakeem Jeffries, saying, hey, is you put all this stuff into the bill that would allow for 1.5 million trillion, forgive me, trillion dollars to go to illegal migrants. That's Jake Tapper calling out Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem's like, what happened? Aren't I on CNN? Anyway, they're all going to go bye-bye. I mean, you saw him with Lara, and then, like, what, a couple months later, we got this version of Jake? It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
There is a pattern, discernible pattern of Democratic officials
Very nasal voice.
seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
What I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we had to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare, the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Democratic officials have tried to spin this in many ways. They said President Biden just had a cold. They said it was just one off night, akin to when President Obama in 2000.
I love this. I mean, I just love this guy. There is, like, no ounce of integrity whatsoever.
None.
Here he is,
No
up
integrity.
on his high horse, trying to, well, at this time he was taken down. By the way, hey, no King's protesters, think about that. Think about that. They took your candidate right out from under you. How do you like that one? There's democracy for you. Courtesy of the Democrats. Anyway, this guy was part of the op.
Well, he had 20 million votes and they gave it to Kamala.
But behind the scenes, make no mistake, most Democratic officials witnessed the same shocking spectacle that you did. The difficulty that the presumptive Democratic nominee...
Jake, we were telling you for months and months and, well, years. I mean, how many times did I play the video? And I didn't play selected video. I played the whole raw tape where you saw poor Joe not being able to sit down at one event in France, in Normandy, or then he wanders off at the G8 summit, thank goodness, for Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, who's so kind as to bring him back, and then he can barely put on his sunglasses. I mean, look, unfortunately, we've seen it before, some of us and loved ones, and you know what you're looking at. But Jake was trying to tell us we were the crazy ones. They're doing the same thing over on MSNBC, right? Until, like, this guy suddenly realizes his job's going to be on the line because there's no way that Biden can win this thing. He will be beaten by Trump. And that's when he just throws up his hands and goes for Kamala.
The current president of the United States had just articulating his basic thoughts during the 90 minutes of the debate. The spinning is all very reminiscent of the George Orwell quote from the book 1984 that I invoked 5 years ago for a different situation and a different president. It's relevant again today. Quote, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final.
Thank you guys for watching this with me. Thank you for watching.
We're not
Appreciate
going
it.
to do that today on the lead. We're going to talk honestly and frankly about all of this with a number of individuals who see it for what it is. We're going to talk with some journalists and some Democrats, none of whom wish President Biden ill, all of whom apparently are more willing to speak freely, honestly, and candidly about the candidate than the people running the Biden campaign, the people close to President Biden, and, frankly, most Democratic officials across the country.
Oh, aren't you a stand-up guy suddenly coming out saying, I'm going to call it like it is, and not only am I going to call it like it is, I'm going to actually write a book on it and see how I can profit and maybe get a job on Fox, because we know it's my network. I mean, look, I've been telling you guys that forever. I actually think that CNN is enormously challenged in so many ways. And I don't see an exit path there for the network, nor for the talent. I mean, Anderson Cooper costs are reported. I mean, I've seen estimates between $10 and $15 million a year, which I would say would be, frankly, if it's $8 million. So I pay him $2 and say, good luck, buddy. Right? That's like it, because they're not getting any ratings. It's not making any money, and you've got to actually make some hard decisions. I don't know how much this guy's making, and again, I'm taking sort of a stab. These are estimates that have been reported in the media. I think he makes less, and he's looking for a higher payday. He, I believe, came from print, which again, back to the voice, you can kind of tell. I don't think any of these people really have much of a future, because CNN does not have a future, and that's not just because of its bias and its sort of state media-esque aspect when you're dealing with the Democrat administration, but rather because the medium has changed so quickly, so fast. So who's nimble enough to keep up with that? Fox, to a certain extent, is in a better position, in part because, well, it's a conservative network and a conservative one, and so I think that there's more faith and more trust. But like, don't kid yourself, even over there, I mean, you know who, right? Was in all kinds of trouble, and fortunately over here, as a result, because I was willing to say something that nobody was willing to say in March 2020, which was that we should not be shutting down the country. Thank you very much. There's ways to do this, and there's ways to do this, and we don't need to pay attention to the plane crash type atmosphere that they were creating, and believe me, they were creating on CNN, because that was only going to be a bad political outcome for Donald Trump and a bad economic outcome for the United States of America. And look, I didn't know what I didn't know at that time, and looking back on it, though, I'd say I was right? But the point being that at a network, that's still not going to be tolerated. You think they got your back. They even actually approve your commentaries over there. But when push came to shove, good luck. Okay, fine. I'm over here now. And guess what? I mean, not to brag too much, but do you know that I have about 5 times the monthly views as the entire Fox Business Network right here on the Trish Regan channel? So look, it's win-win for me, but what I'm pointing out is that all of these businesses, even the best of the bunch, which would be Fox in this case, they are all challenged. They are all struggling because the medium has changed. So Tapper, you can go get your little gig at Fox, but it's never going to, maybe you survive 5 years. I don't know what the timetable is, but I think what's going to happen is you're going to see that all of these things, all of these businesses get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The shrinkage is happening because the viewers aren't there and the money isn't there. I mean, if you're investing, you're interested in politics, etc., so they kind of know who you are. And I think there's just more for advertisers to pinpoint. And as a result, this is the future, okay? So I don't know what to tell you over at CNN. I think that all of you would be kind of smart to...
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subs. Happy Wednesday.
But you won't, right? Because it's nice to have 40 people around you. It's nice to have the hair and makeup team, okay? Like, I get it. But my advice to all of you is that it's actually much more nice to be your own boss.
Oh, yeah.
And to know that you are accountable to the audience only. Not to middle managers, not to some CEO, not to shareholders.
Right.
But to yourself and to your audience. And that's the beauty of this business. But, MSNBC is going to be facing the same thing itself. You get CNN going bye. You got MSNBC dealing with the spinoff. And by the way, again, CNN either goes to one of these entities that effectively just squashes it or tries to shut it down or rolls it in, say, to CBS or something like that, or CNN gets spun off just like MSNBC is being spun off, and then they're going to face the same set of challenges. I mean, there's no way they can escape this, in part just because of the fundamental structures of the companies. The way that these deals are set up with cable companies. They are losing it over in the mainstream
Thank you,
media.
thank
They
you.
are
Appreciate you
losing
guys.
in
Appreciate it.
Democrat
Thanks for the
circles
likes.
because
Thanks for the
story
subs.
that's right above
Happy
my
Wednesday.
left shoulder appeals court lists blog on Trump's Oregon troop deployment.
Thank you,
Deployment
thank
can now
you.
move forward in Oregon
Thank you.
under preliminary ruling by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Now, the Ninth Circuit was traditionally super lefty, you know, like out there in San Francisco, what you would expect. But Donald Trump has managed to make a couple of appointments on that court, and so it's become more, how do I say, grounded, sensible, less, you know, pie in the sky, lefty nonsense. And so the Ninth Circuit just came through and they said, you know what? Portland is under siege. Donald Trump has the right to go in there with the National Guard, because if a state can't protect its people, if it can't enforce the law, in this case, you know, some of the immigration challenges and issues, then guess what? The federal government has the right to do that. So this is a big win for Trump, and it's almost like he knew this was coming. He knew this was coming because he's been picking on Illinois nonstop, as he should, because Pritzker is being a complete, well, that's too easy. We'll go with jerk. Pritzker's being a jerk, and Brandon Johnson is, I don't want your help. I don't want your help. We can do this just fine. And clearly you guys can't. You look at the murder rate in Chicago. I mean, how's that fair? Growing up on the south side of Chicago, you think any kid has a fair shot at anything, given the crime?
I'm from Chicago.
So
Live in Rockford now. Chicago
Trump's offering to help you guys out.
it's falling
Like he
apart,
helped out
man.
in DC.
I'm glad I live in
He's got a
Rockford now for 2
solution for
years,
you.
me and my
He wants to
wife.
actually spend money on you.
Chicago got to do
Turn
better.
it away? Well, he's not taking that for an answer. He's taking it all the way to the Supreme Court, and San Francisco is next.
But the governor, who got thrown out of his business by his family because he's a dope,
that would
but the governor, Pritzker, he...
Yeah, Pritzker got a trans brother, too.
If I were a Democrat,
Yeah, John, they do need more down there.
come on in. What do you have to lose?
And you're going to go to San Francisco next.
Let's go Brandon Johnson down there. He crazy, man. He's from the Austin community. He knows Austin community, which is the west side, needs all the help.
And then 15 years ago...
You can't go to a gas station without 13 people selling squares, sex, weed, all type of BS. You just want to go to the gas station to get some gas or a snack, but you've been bombarded by like 13, 20 people out there. That's
I don't
crazy.
need you guys saying bad words in my commentary, but I have to think about that. He said, go woke, go broke. I'm not sure what he means, but
But we're going to go to San Francisco, and we're going to make it great. We're going to make it great. It'll be great. Again, San Francisco is a great city. It won't be great if it keeps going like this.
No, he's totally right. It won't be great if it keeps. I mean, if you go to Market Street, it's awful. I mean, I can't actually. I even debated showing you the video, but YouTube gets a little funny about this sometimes. They don't really like some of this video. But just imagine sort of the zombie people, and you know why they're like that. And so this is like being traced back to Honduras drug gangs that are coming through Venezuela. So when you look at what the Pentagon's
Yeah, Trump doing the right thing, man. The White House been fixed up by many presidents.
It all fits together, right? And Donald
Somebody put a
Trump,
pool in the White House, a bowling alley, a basketball court. The basketball court came from Obama.
optics, like he really wants safe cities. And
But Trump does it. It's an issue. That's crazy.
Drugs, and he detests alcohol, right? Because of what it did to his brother. So
No drinking here.
he's a teetotaler, and he really doesn't like
7 months
what
sober.
these things have done to our nation. And he was one of the first to kind of put this first front and center, and now he's back for 2.0. And he's going to do everything he can to clean up everything he can. I love this. Did you guys see Dan Bongino? I want to show you if you've seen it.
Yeah, I'll
before,
say
watch it
Chicago.
again,
Yes,
because
yes.
Dan is so
Pray
good
for
at
him.
walking you through the steps that they are taking as he describes how the president got them together. He's like, hey, Dan, hey, Cash, come on in. We need to fix this. Okay, guys, go do your thing.
Do your
And
thing.
they got together a supreme group of individuals that were able to analyze just exactly what the best routes to fighting crimes in these cities. And look, they're having success. You can't argue with success. Here's Dan.
With regards to this crush and violent crime, whether it's in San Francisco, Chicago, any other major city.
That's sad,
early
man.
on, this is kind of
That's
the untold
real
story of
sad. They
this
keep
song.
doing that.
I get appointed, announced in February come in March.
The thing they steal, the insurance company gonna keep paying and helping the business out. But after so long, the insurance company gotta stop being insured.
Listen,
the company.
I'm a lot of
Stop
these
saying
big
it, right?
cities. He has just zero tolerance for violent crime. He just does. He drives around Washington, D.C. on these OTRs, off the record movements. He sees homelessness, crime. He can't stand it. He says, what do we got to do to fix this? And we basically lay out a bunch of things. And his answer is very simple. President's like, go get him, boys. Go get him. That was it. Like, you do what you have to do. So we got in there, Cash and I, and we brought in the best SACs, special agents in charge across the country, guys who had forgotten more about crime and enforcing it than most people ever know. They've done this their whole lives. One of them we pulled in from Phoenix. He did an amazing job out there. We said, hey, it's Joe. I said, Joe, you tell me what we need to do to go get these demon savages off the street.
Demons.
Tell me what we need to do.
Demon savages.
We brought in a violent crime roundtable of the best crim agents in the country. We figured out a battle plan, how to kind of water balloon. You know, when you squeeze a water balloon, you get a bulge. How do we bulge agents here and then bulge agents there? And we cleaned up at the president's direction, the director and I, with the SACs and the agents in the field.
Thank you guys for joining in with me. I really appreciate it. Happy Wednesday. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys.
I love the water balloon around the country. I like his descriptions. I like him as a person, as a friend, and certainly as a podcaster. Certainly at the FBI, I miss his show, full disclosure.
Yep.
Because of things like that, when he talks about, the water ballooning. But he's very serious about this, and, I still talk to him from time to time, and he's committed. I will tell you this, you know what, Dan? He's not making any money doing this, and he was making a lot of money on his show. He had one of the top podcasts in America, and he gave it all up because he's a patriot that cares about this country.
Crim agents in the country figured out a battle plan, how to kind of water balloon. You know, when you squeeze a water balloon, you get a bulge. How do we bulge agents?
What you mean, Dan? He worked for Obama. He seen some shit.
Cleaned up at the president's direction.
He knows some
the
stuff.
Director and I, with the SACs and the agents in the field, we water ballooned around the country and made. Get a load of this, guys. This is going to trip
Thanks for
you out.
joining in. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
1,000 violent crime arrests in 2025, and the year's not even over. You say, well, what does that mean? Put it in comparison. Prior 3-4 years, the FBI under prior leadership had averaged about 15,000, 16,000. We're at 28,000. 28,000. We're not even done with the year. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving or Christmas yet. Shows you when you get a president, an attorney general, a deputy attorney general.
Boy, he's not. Nobody's perfect, but he's been around for years with these.
FBI work instead of getting
He's a Secret Service.
nonsense in the past. Look what happens. Your cities get cleaner.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right. And just to add to that, let's be clear. What was the FBI doing before? A lot of work that it shouldn't have been involved in. I mean, including going after people who were parents showing up at school board meetings or going after Catholics that attended Mass in Latin. I mean, it was crazy stuff. But that all goes back to Operation Arctic Frost, right? In the meantime, let me see if I can show you what Molly Hemingway was saying on one of my former networks with my former colleague, Stuart Varney, great guy. She's making the point that, you know what, a lot has been accomplished, and to Dan's point about the 28,000 arrests, she's also pointing out the number of people that have been deported because they've been forced to be deported or they voluntarily deported themselves, but that it's still a lot of work that can be done. I mean, as wonderful as this is, like, we need to be realists about it.
Yeah, they all lost. They don't know what a woman is. They want the kids take home blockers, too young.
515,000 illegal migrants have been deported.
Boys and men in sports. That's crazy.
Self-deported. Another 485,000 have been arrested.
Y'all a Democrat too. I'm 42. I'll be 43 next month.
This is exactly what Trump promised on the campaign.
I voted for Obama the first time. I wish I didn't. Should do more research.
So fast. What say you?
Well, they are big, but it is also worth remembering that under the Biden administration, each year 2 to 3 million people were coming here illegally, and so they're good numbers.
Yeah, they went crazy.
What has been done to the country because of having
Thanks for the likes.
During the Biden
Thanks for subbing. Thank you.
But yes, it's a good start.
I mean, it's an important thing to remember. 2 to 3 million. Like, what the heck was going on? We know what was going on. And I hate to be so crass and so political about it. They saw it as an opportunity. I mean, when you look at New York State trying to make sure that illegals or people who were not in this country with any legal status could vote in school board elections. You saw the same thing going on in Oakland, California. In the case of New York,
2008. That's the last time.
We're going to allow for 800,000 people to be
Got
able
rid
to
of
vote in
Bernie.
these local elections. And what happened was it went
And
all the way to
got rid of Joe
and
Biden.
they struck it down. But you can see a pattern of behavior where they're like, okay, just get them in, give them this, that, and the other. Let them eat cake, as Marie Antoinette would say, or as Nancy Pelosi would say, let them eat ice cream. Remember that infamous scene when she was pulling up her freezer with like the Talenti or the Haagen-Dazs? I don't know. It's like $8 a container for the ice cream. Just hunker down at home, eat your super expensive ice cream. There's this feeling that you could just keep bringing people here, and that they would then be therefore grateful to the Democrat Party, and that they would then be able to have more votes. They also were looking at basically the redistricting efforts and the gerrymandering that they've engaged in before. And if you have that many more people in your district, even if they're not there legally, they were arguing that they could get more representation in Congress. So there was a method to the madness, and it was horribly political and really truly awful. And now they're having to pay the price. They're having to pay the price because Americans woke up and said, we don't want any of that. We're done with it.
Time for Lefties Losing It, and the celebrity class continue to make ass clowns of themselves. It really is an epidemic, and Martin Sheen seems extra keen to elevate himself to the top of the pile with this asinine contribution.
So the big guy in the White House, if he would take some personal advice, you've got to realize, sir, that you are the biggest nothing in the world.
Wow.
Listening to all these people around you, these sycophants.
Sycophant, Martin? You mean like this loopy lady beside you, MSNBC anchor Nicole Wallace, be clowning herself, laughing along to your sad little attack? It's clear listening to this rant from Martin Sheen that he should never, ever speak in public without the aid of scriptwriters. He was quite erudite when he was playing the US president in the West Wing, but
how you doing, William?
Devices.
Yeah, they did Bernie bogus, man.
Comes out with this.
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you, guys. Happy Wednesday. Monday through Thursday, I go live twice. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. After 6 p.m., I go live. I work the weekend. I'm a weekender. They call it Weekend Warrior.
Listen to Nicole Wallace cackle like some deranged witch there. So Trump is not human and he should stop playing golf. Profound words there from Martin Sheen. No wonder the MSNBC anchor was beside herself with excitement. I mean, imagine how fringe-dwelling left you have become when TDS sufferer Charlemagne...
Right, I get what you're saying, CR. I get it.
I'll never forget when MSNBC did that to me. MSNBC said I was repeating MAGA messaging. I was like, damn, that means that y'all really are not paying attention to your constituents.
Now to another once great of Hollywood who has shown himself to be a seriously unwell individual in need of
right.
professional help. Here is Robert De
He's that
Niro
1%.
losing the plot again and calling a proud Jewish man a Nazi, among other things.
We see it.
Come on, Robert.
We see it all the time. He will not want to leave. He set it up with his... I guess he's the Goebbels of the Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi.
Thank you, guys, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the love.
The only one who should be ashamed of himself is you, Robert De Niro.
I'm gonna keep finding good content to share.
Broken and bitter and so full of hate and bile that you have lost sight of just how deranged you have become. It really is rather sad. Talking about sad, let's check in with actress and alleged comedian Margaret Cho, who had this to say.
Thanks, Al. Appreciate it, man.
J.K. Rowling.
Shut up, J.K. Rowling. Shut up. You're a joke. That's why your name is J.K., because you are a joke. Your anti-trans rhetoric makes me sick. You are despicable. I hope that when you face menopause, you have to take a lot of gender-affirming care. And when you're taking these hormones,
You over 50 years old or 60 years old. Why are you taking medication? She had no more menopause.
Gosh,
I don't
where
know.
does one start there? I think you should keep details of your private issues to yourself, Margaret. Don't think that is a widespread problem. And Jack Rowling is 60 years old. She probably has already gone through menopause. And good of you to mention menopause. You know who doesn't go through that? Men pretending to be women, because they're still men. Now, just when you think the leftist mainstream media cannot sink any lower, along comes MSNBC. Listen to this vile woman claim that J.D. Vance doesn't really love or protect his own family, his own wife and children.
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if
How you
this
doing,
man
Woody?
will not defend
Well,
his
Wood,
wife
thank you. Thank you for
and
joining
will
in.
not
You're right.
defend his kids, do you
The cancer
think
patients,
he
that's
gives a
it.
crap about you
Leave the
or
kids
anything
alone.
to do with you?
That was the contemptible Jennifer Welch on the lunatic asylum masquerading as a news network MSNBC. And Welch, what an awful name that is. Well, she had more to say about race. Listen to this diatribe.
I'm a white woman that has lived in a red state my entire life, and I can tell you when I'm around white people, they test the racist water. They test it on people like you all the time. And they'll try to say off-color things. I put my hand up. It absolutely happens, and you're fortunate that maybe you haven't experienced it.
And it's time for a CNN trigger warning, because they again had some sobering news for their permanently outraged audience. The Schumer shutdown is not hurting Donald Trump. Take it away, Harry.
In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular sport. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown
Oh,
hasn't
man.
been
Okay, I understand.
support at all. His net approval rating is
The company I work with is called PCI Pharmacy, and they specialize in packaging cancer medicine. And some of the medicine costs like $1,000 for their vials or their blisters, or $2,000. So when it comes to the shipment, it'd be like 18 to $30 million shipments. It's crazy.
Blame Trump for the shutdown a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. It's a different world. 48% of Americans.
Yeah, it's all about the money.
For this particular shutdown.
You know what's going on in the world. Follow the money. You know what's going on. That money gonna tell you.
A drop of 13 points again. It's no real wonder that Donald Trump, at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what? It's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
In political advisor and commentator CJ Pearson. CJ, the shutdown in term 2 is being seen differently by voters, but then again, so much of this second term is dramatically different to what we saw in term 1.
You know, you're exactly right. The American people are seeing through the BS the Democrats are spewing. They know that Chuck Schumer and his colleagues own this shutdown. They know that the reason our military service members are not getting paid is because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrat Party being held hostage by the
Yep, that's what I'm saying. It costs, man. These medicines cost.
everything he can do to reopen this government. There have been vote after vote in the United States Senate to reopen this government, to fully fund its programs, to fully fund the men and women who work in our federal government, many of them public servants, and the Democrats have stood in the way of that. So no, the American people are smarter than the Democrats believe them to be, and they know that this is a Democrat shutdown, and President Trump has nothing to do.
All right, let's see.
Joining us now is CJ Pearson, RNC Youth Advisory Council co-chair. CJ, great to see you again. Let's talk about KJP on her media blitz, reminding all of us of just how bad things really were under the Biden administration. Now, she, of course, has been attacking the Democrat Party. Now she's an independent. But my issue is that she was the one spending years and years lying to the American people, covering up Joe Biden's decline. And now she wants those people to go out there and spend their hard-earned dollars on buying her BS book.
Yeah, man, that's a lot for children, man. It's a lot for anybody. That amount.
I gotta say that not much is obvious obviously change with Karine Jean-Pierre. She continues to show that if her mouth is moving, then she is most undoubtedly lying. Whether or not it's on a book tour, behind a White House podium, she actually has no relationship with the truth whatsoever. To sit here and continue to gaslight the American people about the mental acuity of President Biden, when we all saw exactly what happened, his downward spiral throughout his term, and to make us seem as if, or make us feel as if, that our eyes are lying to us, our ears are lying to us, is just disrespectful at this point. The American people know exactly who Joe Biden is, and they know who he wasn't, and what he wasn't was all there, period.
100%. Now, just like Kamala Harris, KJP is taking no accountability. Now, Kamala Harris is still on her media blitz and promoting her book, and she had a meltdown while she was on stage and she happened to get heckled. Watch this.
Soon enough. And I sometimes think about, you know what, I am not president of the United States. You want to go to the White House and talk to him? Then go on and do that.
Right, CR, Yeah.
CJ, it's always a different accent. You never know which one's going to come out.
These people got evil agenda.
I gotta tell you, I've been watching this
Evil agenda when it comes to our kids.
everyone under the sun for her loss, but the actual real culprit. She hasn't blamed Cuervo, she hasn't blamed Tito, she hasn't blamed Jack Daniel, and I think that she should
He been about
actually
alcohol drinks. He's
putting
funny.
her ire on those fronts, right? Here's the deal. Kamala Harris, the American people rejected her because they realized that she actually had no competence whatsoever. She would be a continuation of the same failed Biden agenda the American people had grown tired of. And so, she continues to demonstrate that. And all I'm hoping for at the end of this tour is that she has deluded herself enough.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
If she runs again, we will have a President J.D. Vance, we'll have a President Marco Rubio, one of the two, and it will be guaranteed. So I'm begging Kamala Harris, if she's watching Sky News on Story right now, please run for president.
Yeah, I think a lot of Republicans are hoping that she's going to run. They're among those like her staff all telling her, please do it. Now, I want to talk to you about Hunter Biden in just a moment, but quickly let's go to the UK, where the Oxford Debating Society has voted to oust its incoming president, and this is after he celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk. Now, more than the required, I say, 2/3 of voters supported the no confidence measure against the president-elect. And let's just look at who this guy is, because old vision has surfaced where he essentially called for the right to be taken out by any means necessary. Look at this.
To effectively create change in the world we desire.
Wow, that's crazy.
Violence.
That's crazy.
And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with. The view that some institutions are too broken, too regressive.
So they lose being horny. No more horny, huh? That's crazy.
Of our society.
Denying yourself your natural self. That's stupid.
CJ, can I get your reaction that he's now being voted out?
Well, thank God for these students and these young people actually showing some leadership and holding him accountable. But I gotta tell you that this is disgusting. And these videos, while they
gotta keep on praying for each other.
They weren't news to the people that elected them, and for them to have voted him in, knowing that he had harbored these opinions,
Pray for more wisdom.
about political violence in his country, across the world, is disgusting. An indictment upon the higher education system, not just here in the U.S., because of course he's over there in the U.K., but really around the world. This virus is spread internationally now. But what I'll say about this is that oftentimes the reason I push back so forcefully when those on the left say this is a both sides issue, you don't hear people on the right talking like this, right? Charlie Kirk, if you want to say that, sometimes violence is the only response to something that's oppressive, what was oppressive about anything that Charlie Kirk ever did? Was it oppressive or violent? He believed there were only two genders. Was it oppressive or violent? He believed that America was a great country worthy of being defended. Was it oppressive or violent that he believed that America's next generation should be able to have a free discourse of ideas in accordance with the free speech ideals that America is built upon? What was oppressive about that? What was violent about that? I will tell you what was oppressive is putting a bullet into the neck of your political opponent because he hurt your feelings. That is the type of evil that those on the left are defending here in this country today. That is the type of evil that those across the world are defending on the left here today. And so, no, you don't get to both sides of me on this issue anymore. The violence in this in this country right now, as it relates to politics, the bullets are coming from left to right. They're not coming from both sides.
Well said, CJ. Okay, Hunter Biden, he's opened up about receiving a pardon from his dad, and in the world's most predictable statement, he's pointing the finger at Donald Trump. Not himself, not his dad, Joe Biden, but it's Donald Trump's fault.
You left your laptop. How's his fault? You left your laptop.
Dad only pardoned him because Donald Trump was elected president, and his dad would not have done so under normal circumstances. He said that Donald Trump went and changed everything, and I quote, "Don't think that I need to make much of an argument about why he changed everything." I mean, CJ, of course he's going to point the finger at Donald Trump. It's such a joke.
You're exactly right. It's just plain silly, but I gotta tell credit where it's due. I will actually applaud Hunter Biden for his self-awareness there. He says that he recognizes how privileged he is. And he actually is very, very privileged. He's the most privileged crackhead in America. Because only when you were the president's son would you have received the type of pardon that he did. Only if you were the president's son would you be given kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card in this case, because we know indisputably that he had broken the law. It was true. It was Biden's DOJ that pursued those charges.
Operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
Is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Good afternoon, everybody, on a Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. On a Wednesday afternoon. How you guys doing? So, as you can see by the thumbnail, I'm not sure if everybody saw the thumbnail, but this is the thumbnail of today's video. I just want you guys to take a look at it. It's about the EBT, the swarm of the EBT queens.
They tripping.
So before I begin, let me go ahead and preface what I'm about to say. I got a long, lengthy email from one of the viewers here, a woman who has been here for quite some time. Said she's been watching for 2 years. Yesterday she felt offended because I hit hard last night on ET. And she told me about her personal endeavor and how
she got divorced, and then she got sick, and she had to go on EBT. And then she ended the email, which basically was the exclamation point on what I was saying yesterday, but she didn't realize that she was giving me the exclamation point. She said she got divorced, she got sick, and then she got a job, and she wasn't on EBT anymore. And I'm like, that's exactly what I was talking about. I'm not talking that people who go on EBT are losers. I don't think people who have to utilize the crutch of the government are losers. I'm talking about those people who have considered EBT and every other welfare program as their lifestyle. That is a huge difference. If something happens, if there's some adverse situation in your life that you need a hand up, well, you know what? You need a hand up. That's what it's there for. It's supposed to be in case...
Thanks for joining in. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subs. Good afternoon.
You've exhausted all your other opportunities. I need the government to help me while I get back on my feet. See, most people, well, maybe most people who are on the program don't understand that's all it was supposed to be.
Thank you.
A bridge from where you are now to where you need to be. They just said, hey, you know what? It's pretty nice on this shore. We're just going to plant a tent here and just stay here forever, which is completely wrong. I want to share something with you with that being said. I think prefaces what I'm about to talk about today. I don't usually preface too much when I'm talking about, but I want people to really understand what I mean, and I'm not coming off as flippant in terms of regards to people who actually need help. I want you to take a look at this and for yourself, in case nobody has ever explained it to you, and you can see it without any doubt whatsoever. The SNAP program, as it is now called, versus food stamps, the history of it traces back to, and I highlighted, the first temporary program in 1939, which helped distribute surplus food, extra food, during the Great Depression. It wasn't supposed to be a grocery store. It was a temporary program to distribute surplus food. After this program ended in 1943, a permanent nationwide program was established in 1964 with the Food Stamps Act.
Right, Wood.
Now it starts getting really interesting. Then they, of course,
Speaking of Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Maxine Waters, they still in Congress, and they calling Trump a king. Makes no sense. How y'all been in Congress for 30, 50 years?
The first temporary program launched the Great Depression to combat food surplus.
Oh, no problem. Keep on spreading the word, man. The good stuff.
Participants bought orange stamps for groceries and received blue stamps for free, which could only be used on surplus food items like butter, eggs, and cornmeal. Why don't we go back to that? Why don't we say you can have as much butter, eggs, and cornmeal as you can eat? See, we've gone a long way past what this program was supposed to be. Way past it. Then in the 1960s, a series of pilot programs began to test the effectiveness of the program in a new format, this time without the requirement of purchasing surplus goods. Let's make it anything in the store, pretty much. Then in 1964, here comes Lyndon Johnson, the Great Society Initiative. The program was expanded significantly in the following years, and it exploded into 15 million participants by 1974. In case you haven't looked on the calendar, it's 2025. It ballooned to 15 million people in 1974, and in the 50 years since then, what was supposed to be a hand up, help out people, has turned into a lifestyle. that you and I have to pay for. Well, I think it's time for us to stop paying. I think we should give them all the eggs and cornmeal that they can possibly eat. You get your protein from your eggs, you get your carbs from the bread that you make, and have at it, because it's supposed to be temporary. Lyndon Johnson effed up this country something awful, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly
That's why black people are still voting Democrat. Makes no sense.
was going to gravitate to this free stuff.
Vote red, baby. Vote for common sense, really. Common sense.
50 years, it has become a staple in that, for the most part, in that certain segment demographic of our population, to the point where it's counted on. I'm not saying exclusively in that population, but you know what I'm saying. And now we're at a point in 2025 where the doors are about to blow off. The Democrats made a huge mistake, a giant miscalculation, going out on strike essentially, and saying F you to the president. Meanwhile, you are beholden to the president to continue away from. Now, because he's like slash. Happening is people aren't liking it whatsoever. I want to show you something. Here we go. Listen to this.
American people first. I mean, the fact that
none of that on the Democrat. I mean, again, I understand the math. I understand your position. No responsibility on the Democrats. Or at least you don't think that the public will perceive that the Democrats are responsible.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible, and of course there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously.
That's the problem. See things that's crazy.
They take that responsibility very seriously because they need that leverage. Why don't we make sure that everybody who's complaining about the EBT programs going south, let them know that the Democrats, there's got to be some pain, but we need this for leverage. How many people understand they put these people on the altar of sacrifice in order to further all these international programs and all for these newcomers? And now these people in the hood are like, what? What do you mean on November 1st I got to fend for myself? You should be mad at the Democrats. They gave Trump the opportunity to begin changing the budget.
House Republicans passed what they say is a clean, short-term funding bill, but most congressional Democrats refuse to support it. I know you want to address the Affordable Care Act subsidies set to expire at the end of the year. So why not vote to fund the government, at least for now, and then negotiate on the subsidies later while the government is open?
Well, clearly, the Republicans don't want to negotiate. That's one.
The bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry. And they've asked us for 45 days and 45 days and 45 days. When they say another 45 days, later to them means never. We have to get them to the table and negotiate with us now.
But unfortunately for you, Chucky, while you're trying to do everything you can in the media, these people are not going to have their EBT cards. It is October 22nd. In 10 days, there will be no refunding, no refill on these EBT cards. And they're about to go ballistic. And they don't care if they're going to hurt Republicans or Democrats. All they care about is, I got to go get mine. It's disgusting.
Okay. Because they'll be giant. Oh, wow.
This is what you've bred. This is what you've caused. You can only give that animal, that kitten, milk so many times before it just takes up residence outside your front door. And I'm not calling people animals, even though some of them act like it.
They dress like it, too.
We are in a situation right now where this EBT thing is a volcano. and it's going to burn everything in its path, and it doesn't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. They can't fathom that in about 10 days, they're not going to be able to get anything they want.
And they're getting ready to shut off that EBT November 1st. If you're shopping at Walmart, Kroger, Ralph's, ShopRite, Target, Publix, get real close. I'm only saying this once and I'm saying it real slow so you understand. Sharkeisha is coming to town.
I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the off for November. Y'all better stay the out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for shit. I'm gonna be feeling like it ain't no tomorrow. And I'm gonna have one of my cousins with me that'll punch your ass so hard you gonna think a Jet 2 holiday hit your bitch ass.
Can you imagine depending on somebody else to feed your kid? That's what we go to work for, ain't it? Why are we having all these kids we can't afford anyway? You on your $1,000 cell phone, checking if you got credit for EBT. How does that make sense? Oh, shit. Shout out to Angry Man. He put me on that one. You got your hair done, your nails done. You buying everything but food. Nobody cares about your baby but you. Maybe their father. That's who you need to call. Call his damn father. You over there asking the government to help you out. No, government want a divorce. Call you told everybody you could do bad by yourself.
Right, the Schumer shutdown, yep.
She's gonna be coming for everybody's carts. If she can't fill her basket, she's gonna be looking at yours. I got my concealed carry.
Damn.
Cause this holiday season better be a shit show.
For case you're wondering, no, we didn't have a cold spell here in Florida. I'm wearing this unbelievable sweatshirt hoodie from Bearskin. I mean, it's
Gotta
like
give me one.
military grade. This thing's incredible. If you guys haven't heard of Bearskin, I'm going to tell you about them now. You guys can look around. The smart people are locking in their winter gear now because this is hands down the best time to prep for the coming winter. Well, for people who don't live in Florida. Bearskin is running a 60% off deal right now, but only if you get your hoodie early. This hoodie is built like a tank. 340 GSM micro fleece.
Okay, see y'all. I'll check that out. Appreciate the information. I'll definitely check that out.
Kinds of pockets on this thing. With a clean, rugged fit.
I'm here to learn, man. I'm here to learn or do research and share it.
Into the heavy storm rain jacket to become
I'm not here to change nobody's mind. I'm just here.
You're not scrambling for the last U.S. shipping. Fast delivery, and you're locked into your winter gear already. That's a win-win. So do yourself a favor, text the word Barry to 36912 to lock in your 60% off discount. Again, text Barry to 36912. You'll get a link sent straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now watching the show. And one more thing, when you support Bearskin, you're also supporting the Fallen Outdoors and the Hope for the Warriors Veteran Program. So you're not just buying a great gear, you're backing a cause that matters. Don't wait till you're freezing up north to realize your hoodie sucks. Get a Bearskin right now while it's 60% off. Text Barry to 36912. All right, so at 2:30, Reagan Reese is going to be coming on for a quick interview. Reagan from the Daily Caller, and she's been in the White House. She was able to speak to President Trump questions recently, so we're going to talk to her for a quick bit, and then we'll get back to the EBT queens, because I got a lot to show you, and then after the EBT queens, then we're going to listen to Johnson's press conference from earlier today. With that said, I wanted to show you a couple things that President Trump posted on Truth Social, so you can see where his head is this morning. He posted this.
Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe. Thank you, guys. Happy Wednesday.
Bill Ford of Ford Motor Company just called to thank me for putting tariffs on mid-size trucks.
I had a subscriber, I lost one.
They told me that without tariffs, it would be very hard, long slog for truck and car manufacturers in the United States. I told them it's very simple. This is a national security matter. With the tariffs, we have a strong and powerful economy and country. We have the exact opposite. He also posted this. says the cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put a tariff on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as we've done for the past 20 years. Terrible.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious to y'all. Wow.
Because the
And
consumer
walk
is a
away.
very big factor in my thinking also. And he followed that up was, in addition to everything else, tariffs on other countries saved our cattle ranches. All right, so that's what's going on with President Trump. I will get to Reagan Reese as soon as she comes on. Let me, before I go too much further into the EBT stuff, I'd like to show you a couple things that people have posted, because it's getting really bad. I mean, really bad. The videos are everywhere. I'm almost wondering if it's a TikTok trend. Is it actually real? I can't imagine making a video saying I'm going to steal. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to take your food. I'm going to do everything I
I've
possibly
been to Florida a few
can.
times. Somebody's down there. I've been to Orange County,
You know, I stopped short
Leo
of calling
Bourne,
people animals, but
Fort
they're
Lauderdale.
exhibiting
Been a few cruises.
activities. At any cost, get theirs. It's absolutely absurd. And it's getting worse because it seems, like I said, the demographic of people who are doing it is almost exclusively one demographic. Spitfire says, oops, I hit the wrong button. Spitfire says, anyone else notice that
Thank you guys for joining in. We appreciate it. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for joining in. Like and subscribe.
found it up to get piercings and tattoos everywhere? Piercings, tattoos, their bone, you name it.
Okay. I'm from Chicago, but I'm in Rockford now. Me and my wife for 2 years living in Rockford. Laid back, slow, very slow in Chicago.
More money in your pocket would you have if you were not having to pay rent, not having what, and you get more money depending on how many babies are in the home? President Johnson screwed this country. Absolutely screwed the country. And let this stuff run wild. And now it could be permanently gone. Like that. Talk about excising a boil. Talk about cold turkey. I don't think these people are going to be able to take it. I don't think the country will be able to take it. They're going to go ballistic. Be careful out there. George said this. When the government reopens, can we make sure to cancel welfare going to the people making threats to steal from stores because their food stamps got paused? These EBT warriors need to be dealt with. With that. Why should it be okay for you to threaten that you're going to steal whatever you need to steal to get what you want?
That's crazy.
And they're having no problems picking up a phone and going, yeah, you better watch out, I'm going to steal your stuff. This is the beginning of Reagan is done, and we talked to her. I'm going to show you that this is the beginning of anarchy. This is exactly what the Democrats want. They don't want you to have a nice, cushy life. They don't want you.
Right, Thanksgiving around the corner. Thanksgiving around the corner. They're pulling this
They don't
stunt.
want you to feel safe in the grocery store. There's something really, really wrong with that. Data Republican is a little bit, I'll save that one. But I do want to show Kyle Seraphin. Kyle's kind of out there. But once in a while, Kyle will post something, and I have to go, I kind of agree with that. James Madison is sometimes called the father of the Constitution. He didn't believe the federal government should provide any of the welfare benefits we currently do. Perhaps November 1st is a good day to return to the founder's vision. Charity is no part of the legislative duty of the government. Even the guy who preceded Lyndon B. Johnson pretty much said that. You remember it. All of us grew up with it. Ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. The reason why I can say that, not use a teleprompter, because it was in my head growing up as a young man, young boy. Ask not what your country can do for you.
Oh, wow, Cali, shit.
It's no part of the legislative duty of the government. Instead, ask what you can
Governor
do for the
Newsom.
government. This could never be a staple of the left. James Madison, as part of, I think it was, he said Madison, right? Yeah. James Madison, who wrote this, would be in exile today for even saying such a statement. But it's true. Do you think it's false? Where do you find it? Since when, well, we now can pretty much pinpoint when, since when did the government become a charitable institution? I got a news flash for you. In order to be, you have to have the funds to donate. When you go to church and the basket comes around, you got to have the money to pull out of your pocket and put it in the basket. Even if it's a theoretical basket, because now a lot of churches use text giving and all kinds of stuff like that, but you got to have the funds.
Right, go vote.
You have to put the money into the church basket. You have to donate turkeys on Thanksgiving. You, not the government. The government doesn't have any money. The government wasn't designed to have any money. You are paying for this stuff because over the last 50 years, they kept bumping our taxes up. And they've somehow brainwashed these people to thinking, I get it from the government. No, you get it from us. And at some point, we may decide you don't get me more. We don't like how you're living. We don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to keep paying more and more taxes so people on farms in Uganda have condoms. No, I don't want to do that.
Right, go to the polls, man.
Revolutionary times.
You're right, go to the polls.
We don't have as many revolutionary people on our side. We are definitely getting to a position, even with a communist mayor in New York, where people are asleep at the wheel, not understanding it's 1775 all over again, but in a different way. And I'm going to show you some of this stuff once Reagan comes after my interview with Reagan that was scheduled right at 2:30. You have to be seeing
Go to the polls, Callie. Go to the polls.
You have to be seeing it can never even be uttered in the halls of Democrats. There's no way that they could even mouth the words. It is because they have taken it upon themselves to make sure that the votes can be bought by feeding the little birdies. Even if those little birdies have 10 or 12 chicks in the nest and have no ability to be fed other than by you. You know, every time they use one of those EBT cards, it's almost like they should turn around to other people working, even the person scanning the groceries, and go, thank you. Because you can't spend that EBT money without that cashier. That's the first person you're looking at, and you know she's working, he's working. You don't know if the people in line are working or not, but you know for sure that person's scanning your cans and food and Cheetos. You know for sure that person is working. You know they are paying for your stuff. I don't know where I come from, you say thank you when people are giving you a gift. Where I come from, you say thank you when people are giving you charity. See, let's not forget for one instance that everything we do in regards to the EBT program, bus passes, and everything else is charity. You're accepting charity from others, and you're ungrateful. It's become a Democrats have now got people to a certain point in their lives where that's exactly where they are. It doesn't even cross their minds that they can't have it, that people don't want to pay for it anymore. Especially, I am not one to fat shame. You guys have seen me doing hopefully some sort of a metamorphosis over the years where I've lost weight and tried to get in better shape, get the guns and Navarone, back to where they used to be. But in any end, when you see these people making these videos, like maybe you don't need that cheese puffs. Maybe you don't need Dolly Madison cakes. Maybe you just need some eggs and cornmeal, the way it was supposed to be. We'll give you all the eggs, butter, and cornmeal you want. For that, hey, you can have that. But we can't put that genie back in the bottle whatsoever. And that's bad. I see Reagan is about to come in, so let me do a quick intro to Reagan as she was in the White House recently. Let's listen to two quick questions.
An appeals court recently ruled that you can send the National Guard into Oregon. Do you feel unfettered to send the National Guard into whatever city you want now?
Yes, sir. That was the decision that I can send the National Guard if I see problems. I looked at Portland over the weekend. The place is burning down. Just burning down. We weren't there. We didn't spend much time there because we were waiting for that decision. But the court maybe that influenced the court. But you look at a place like Portland, it's ridiculous when they say that there's no problem. The place is fire over the weekend. But we won the case in Court of Appeals. I think it was the Ninth Circuit, so that's pretty good. And a very strong opinion that we have the right to use the National Guard. You would think that would be common sense. We have the right to use the National Guard to put out trouble. Well, that's how I got elected. One of the reasons I got elected.
Reagan, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. We're seeing you moving up in the world of media now. You're doing so much. I love to see it. Question for you. So you're talking to President Trump. I assume that was you, right? That was you?
Yep, that was me.
Okay, so let me move your volume up a little bit. As you asked that question about the National Guard, what are the other people in the media? How are they looking at you? What are they thinking? Because President Trump broke out into a little bit of a smile right there, like it's almost like it's coming. So two questions I have for you. How is the media accepting this? And is there chatter amongst the White House that it's actually feel comfortable moving these forces into San Francisco, Chicago, and other parts unknown as of yet?
Well, Barry, it comes at no surprise, I'm sure to you and your audience, that the legacy media treats everything that Donald Trump does as the end of the world. I mean, he's doing construction, he's building a beautiful ballroom right now, and they are acting like Donald Trump has lit the world on fire. So, of course, they freak out about the National Guard and, his response that he feels unfettered now to put the National Guard in whatever city he wants. I think this is something that the media has tried to downplay and scrutinize since the second he started to do it. I believe it was the New York Times did an article criticizing Trump for bringing the National Guard into Washington, D.C., and then after that, they started criticizing him for putting the National Guard in the wrong places in Washington, D.C. It's like he can't win. And so, it does seem like the White House, the gloves are off. I think President Trump is pretty forthcoming in that answer there, saying, I can do whatever I want now. I can take the National Guard and I can put them where I think there is a problem. Like we were waiting, essentially,
Thanks for joining in
on this court ruling. From my understanding, my intel, I think we're going to be hearing more about the efforts that the president has made in cities like Memphis, Tennessee, and kind of the progress they've made in cleaning up those cities.
I think the last time we talked, it was just about the time when it was starting in Washington. So since that time, which I think was probably a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and I understand you live outside of Washington in Virginia. What have you noticed and how has it continued to improve?
Yeah, I do live outside of the city. I moved to Virginia because of safety. I used to live on Capitol Hill. There was an attempted break-in at my place there on Capitol Hill. I no longer felt safe in the area, and it was an area that was safe 3 years ago, felt fine 3 years ago, and now it isn't anymore. And right as I moved, then President Trump said, I'm taking over Washington, D.C., and I'm going to make it feel so much safer. And, you know, I rode home. It's getting darker here in Washington. I hate riding the metro when it's dark at night. Of course, this is anecdotal, but I felt safe riding the metro last night because you see the National Guard on every single stop. And once I get out to Virginia, the stops become a bit, friendlier, safer. So it's really getting in and out of the city. But I did a piece a while back when this all went down, kind of comparing the first 2 weeks of the president's crackdown on crime in D.C. to the same 2-week period from the year before that and the year prior to that. And it was just a unbelievable drop in crime in almost every category. And, the president says that I think yesterday they were tracking how many weeks there's been without a murder. And I think that itself speaks to the changes that have been brought to Washington, D.C.
You're a young woman, you're surrounded in the press pool by other young women. They're not reporting on it, but they must be experiencing it themselves. They must look around at each other and go, yeah, I can go down the street. I mean, obviously the reason is because they don't want to give Trump any credit, but aren't they indeed recipients of this same safety that they don't want to give him credit for?
Oh, 100%. When I leave the White House, I was thinking about this yesterday, is the safest I feel at all times. Essentially when I'm on White House grounds, also protected by the Secret Service. And the second I step off of the White House grounds, I am thinking to myself, or I used to think to myself, where can I walk and still be kind of in the eyesight of the Secret Service so they can still maybe protect me if something bad happened? And I know that other women feel the same way. I know that, I've heard them talk about it. For whatever reason, I believe the Democrats have it in their head that this is authoritarianism, that this is fascist behavior, that it just looks, I've heard this argument a lot. I've been on a panel once with a Democrat who just said it looks bad, it looks scary, and I was like, it doesn't. First of all, what do you think of our men and women in the military who are there to protect us, that they're scary, that we should be afraid of them? It's very bizarre, and quite frankly, I don't think it's a winning message for Democrats.
No, I don't think so either. In fact, so now that he has a business model of doing it in Washington, D.C., he can take that same model and go in other areas. Now, I'm not sure if you
Look, I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. The feds are literally all on their own right now. What do you think about what's going on here at Canal Street? New York City, what do you think about this? How do you feel about ICE coming in? Feds coming in? Any response? Keep yelling at the feds?
Hold on, let me see something right quick. Hold on. Was this live? I'll play this one. I'll play it again.
Look, I can't even believe what I'm seeing right now. The feds are literally all on their own right now. What do you think about what's going on here at Canal Street? New York City, what do you think about this? How do you feel about ICE coming in? Feds coming in? Any response? Keep yelling at the feds? You got this lady yelling at this man? And there's no Fed cars to be seen right now. What race do you guys do? Okay. We literally have all these protests now. They're getting surrounded. And there's no federal vehicles anywhere right now. We're right here outside the federal court. Now everyone's chanting, shame. Show your face! Come on, what are you scared about? What the f*** are you scared about? Now we do people from their homes and their schools and their jobs, and they know what they're doing is wrong, and they don't give a because they're heartless monsters. People are upset. Look at it. Yeah, feds going through here. They got rifles. Yes, sir. I got you. Yeah. Pepper ball guns right here as well. Now they're trying to go inside of the federal court building. Right there is the federal court building. This lady, just push the rest. Yes, sir. Oh. Now they have just arrested the girl who I just barely interviewed. This is just absolute. This is just absolute madness.
I'm gonna go ahead and end you guys. I appreciate you guys joining in with me. Happy Wednesday. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll be back later on. Thanks.
What makes you so passionate about this right now?